call this meeting of the New Iberia City Council to order. We have the prayer and the pledge led by Councilwoman Natalie Roban.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Natalie Roban.
present.
Councilmember Peggy Girat.
Present.
Councilmember Robert Swear.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Doyle.
Here.
Councilmember David Merrill. Councilmember Raymond Lewis. And Councilmember Calvin Bagnell.
Here.
Mayor Kerr, you have the floor.
Thank you. The first agenda item is public comment, and at this time, we give everyone in the audience an opportunity to complete a card, and they can address any agenda item. We only have one person that, I'm sorry?
I got one filling out right there.
Okay. Just if you'd hand them, oh, you have a bunch.
Oh yeah, we have a bunch.
Oh, okay.
He's filling out this last.
Okay, we'll call each of you up. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and there's no back and forth discussion with the council. It's simply your opportunity to express your concerns on any agenda item. And we'll start right here. If you just approach the podium when I call your name. Mr. Keith Lapperouse wants to discuss agenda item 5, letters from planning and zoning concerning the mobile homes in R3.
Ma'am, can I ask that the people who speak, if they live in the city, if they can identify what district they reside in?
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Roban asked if the individuals that speak would please identify which district they live in.
I wrote it on the card, but I don't recall what it is.
He's in District 6.
6, okay.
In the city, you've got a number of residential districts. You've got like 6 different districts, and 3 of them, R1, R2, and R3, are single-family dwellings. And the difference in those 3 is the size of the lot. And R1 is 50-foot wide, and R2 and 3 are 40 feet wide. And those have traditional homes. A traditional home generally appreciates in value over time. You live in a house 10, 20, 30 years, and it's worth a great deal more than when you first move in. And if you make any improvements, whether you upgrade the bathroom or the kitchen, you'll get that money back. And for most people, it's the largest single investment they'll make. A mobile home, on the other hand, is like an automobile. A mobile home goes down in value. You buy a brand new automobile and you sell it 5, 7, 10 years down the road, it's only worth a fraction of what you pay for it. So a mobile home is different from a traditional home in that it goes down in value. Mobile homes don't do well in storms, and we have powerful storms in this part of the country. Not very often, but every now and then we do. Hurricane Andrew hit Florida and Louisiana, and as a result, a number of the mobile homes were imploding, the difference in pressure inside and out. So they don't do well in storms. If you ever saw a double-wide trailer going down the highway, you got 3 sides of roof and visqueen. They'll put 2 of those side by side, and then they'll join them together. But if there's a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane outside with gusts up to 95 miles an hour, you don't want to be in a mobile home. If you take a mobile home and you move it into an area where you have traditional homes like a R1 or R2 or R3, property values go down. And again, for most people, that's the single largest investment that you'll make. And what happens is, besides the property value going down, as the trailer gets older, if it's 20, 30, 40 years from now, you'll notice it just deteriorates. It becomes an eyesore. And then if it's a rental property, the rent goes down. And the type of people that live in a low rent, you don't want that next to a traditional neighborhood. There was a recent article that appeared on Yahoo last week, and they said people across the country do not want mobile homes next to where they live. At the same time, people that have bad credit or people that have a criminal history, it's difficult for them to get past bankers and get in a traditional home. However, it's very easy for them to get into a mobile home. So anything you can do to protect the integrity of our subdivisions, I'll really appreciate it. And there is a need for mobile homes, and there's a place for them, and it's called Mobile Home Park, not along the side of a traditional home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaPruse. The next person to address the council is Mr. Joe LeBlanc, and he is in District 1, and he would like to speak concerning the same agenda item.
Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, in reference to, I think y'all gonna talk about tonight, going with a special use permit, and I don't know why our property was held hostage from us before this date. Because I live in a zone where it was zoned for trailers. It was voted on by the people. And it was taken away by the council. And to me, I feel like it should have went back to the people for a vote. Okay? I know a lot of people don't like trailers, you know. In my district, we don't have any representation for people that live in trailers. I can't say the rest for the rest of you. You see? But a mobile home looks better than some houses nowadays. Okay? And everybody can't afford a house, but yet if Exit Drive was zoned for trailers, who is this council to take it away when it's not part of Acadian Acres? That's not right to us. Y'all holding us hostage. Please, an empty lot, don't bring in revenues. Okay? But a trailer on that lot bring you more revenues. Let's quit sending our people out the parish and start focusing on the tax dollars that we need in our Iberia parish. Because people, we losing too much money. Okay, if it was zoned good 20 years ago, and if my street is still there, and it had the same 28 trailers, maybe 4 missing, what is Exit Drive hurting to pull another one in there? I can get a letter from all my neighbors. But no, some people live in houses, never lived in a trailer. Maybe they think they're lower class, the trailer people. I don't think that way. I think a person is a person. You see? And a lot of mobile homes look better than some of them houses that some of the people are living in today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Cormier, and he is in District 1, and he would like to speak on this same agenda item.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
And City Council. My name is Michael Cormier Sr. I'm a current member of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of New Iberia. Can everybody hear me clearly? I voted no for the second time regarding allowing additional mobile homes into R3 zone districts. Although the current request is presented with restrictions similar to the special use and conditional use permit process, in my opinion, there's no benefit to our city. My family and I, we've been in New Iberia for approximately 10 years now. Work brought me here to New Iberia. The city and the people of New Iberia is what made me decide to make this our home. And the decision to make the New Iberia my home, and I'm in retirement and I'm planning on staying here. When mobile homes are moved into a neighborhood, the adjacent property owners will suffer devaluation of their property. Also, other property owners in the area will suffer devaluation. Our focus should be on enhancing the city's property tax revenue, not devaluation. I've had the opportunity to ride through the city to view mobile homes, and I actually did that, and there was nothing scientific about it. But my observation is about 90% of the mobile homes were in relatively bad condition. And just like anything else in life, there's good and bad. And by my estimations, about 10% is what I would define in good condition. There's nothing personal in my voting against this regulation. My focus, as well as the members of this council, should be on what's best for the city of New Iberia holistically. not just one section or the other, but the whole city. In closing, after speaking with a member of the Permitting and Zoning Enforcement Office today, it was clearly stated that once a mobile home is in place, they only respond to complaints. In my opinion, that's too little and much too late. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Benjamin Myers would like to speak on the same agenda item, and he is in District 2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, you guys already know my position as far as the mobile homes go. I've spoken to quite a lot more people, and they agree in our residential area that we would not like to have a mobile home put any place that you would like to have it. And if anybody want to see what would be the results of that, they can go to Lombard Street, the block between Emery Wing Lewis and LaSalle Street. Just look at that block right there and see what happens when you put a mobile home on the side of a mobile home on the side of another little house. It gives us the depiction of a shanty town like I would like not to have our district go toward, because we're definitely trying to improve. Now, we've had some talk from some of our council members about certain areas they thought that they might want to have zones, like the area Ms. Dirac spoke about, Spencer Loop and Lynn Circle. Those areas, I think specifically, they have over 10 mobile homes, which literally qualify them as an area to be classified as a mobile home area. So saying that, and having heard the zoning commission, the way they voted unanimously not to allow this, I think that we ought to support the planning and zoning like we have in the past, all of us. We got 3 or 4 district council members who said that people in their districts would not like to have mobile homes come into their districts and their areas. I hope that they support no vote in this situation, and also some of the other people like our overall Mayor Pro Temp, who really speaks for the whole city. I hope that he supports this thing where we do not allow mobile homes just to come anywhere and everywhere that people would think to put them. On that note, I would like to say no one has ever helped us do anything pertaining to a statement that was made in support of restructuring some historic site, and I'll leave it at that. And again, I would like to thank the council for hearing us out. And again, Ms. Pegg, if you have some ambitions to get Spencer Loop and Lynn Circle into that, I think that you should take that in and of itself before the planning and zoning, and I think they would cooperate, and you have enough trailers back there to justify it being a mobile home area. So again, I would ask you all to vote no tonight in support of this, taking all 3 areas and turning them completely into areas, submitted to mobile homes. Again, I thank you all for your time and your support.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Mr. Michael Bell, and Michael is in District...
It's number 5. I made a mistake. I wanted to talk about 5 and 7.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay. He wants to speak concerning the same
5,
agenda item that
right.
the others have
And-
spoken on.
and 7.
Also agenda item 7.
Right.
Which is keeping the
Right.
city park pools open.
Right. I'm in District 5, Mr. Lewis District. First, I want to say that it was a little offensive to me that some of the things I've heard about people in trailer park. And I want to let the people know, for example, in the western area has always been an area where trailer park was allowed. We have to put, under consideration, you have a lot of single working mothers that working 2 jobs that can only afford trailers. Now, it makes a lot of sense to me if you have certain restriction, trailers that are well skirted and well taken care of. I see houses in this area that should be torn down, but they're not. And I don't think we truly have the right to stop, to just tell people that we can't put trailers, because we have to understand that's a dwelling, that's a place to live. And again, you have single working mothers, and I look at the working poor, not the people that scunge off the government. We're talking about the working poor and the middle class people that can't afford. And you have a lot of people that choose not to live in a house. You have a lot of people that like houses. For example, the houses that has been torn down in certain areas, like the West End, and certain area, like Mr. Blah was saying, that's traditionally have trailers, okay? So what we're doing, tearing down these houses and allowing those places to become dumps. If you ride around the city, that's exactly what we see, dumps. We have a housing shortage. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see it is a need for the people, and I think it is wrong if we just do that to good, hard-working people. I myself have family members that have lived in trailers, but these people were hard-working, good citizens. So I don't think it's right that we can just take a pen and a few people can say, hey, we don't want any more trailers without making codes. Like, you can move a trailer in, it has to be a certain year, and it has to be up to standard. So if we are going to eliminate that, we must go around and eliminate the houses that is in terrible condition, being fair. Okay? If we are going to be fair, this is America, and like I said, people that live in trailers are not necessarily people that are wrong or dirty people. That's wrong, okay? Thank you. And on 7, the swimming pool. I think we know the West End is going to be closed. It's closed right now. People, let me tell you, if we allow the city park as well to shut down swimming pool, a city the size of New Iberia, we have nothing for our young people to do. And it's not a black or white or brown or yellow. It's just about the citizens in this town. Our young people. We are telling our young people we cannot afford to have a place for you to swim. Something is wrong with that. Something is not right. Do we have a plan to build something in the foreseeable future that kids in other areas of town can get to? Because we have no transportation system in New Iberia, but we're expanding. We're expanding. But yet we have no way to get people around. So I really wish you people would really consider that. Okay? We're going to close all the pools, both of the pools, and I think if the city council, a 1-cent sale tax was brought to the people and explained to them and let them know what we have or what we're going to lose if we didn't do that. Go ahead and do. Iberia Parish and the city of New Iberia people are not dumb. Very intelligent people. And I really think in my heart people would have easily chose to pass that if they knew that we had a chance of losing our swimming pool. A city the size of New Iberia, only second in New Iberia to Lafayette, it will be a disaster if we let that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
The next person to address the council is Mr. Jay Leger, and he lives in District 4, and he also wants to talk about agenda item 7, which is the swimming pools in the city.
I was back there, and I'm saying, I don't know what item it is. Anyway, Mayor, it's nice seeing you. Miss Elmira, haven't seen you for a long time. Members of the council, it's nice seeing all you. I know all of you, except this lady on the end over here, but she's new, and I said, and Mr. Hike over here, be careful, because I taught him everything he knows. All right, but anyway, truly, I am here to talk a little bit about the pool. And I think those who know me know I've been in education a long time. I've worked with scouting a long time. I've served on a recreation board a long time. And I support what Tony and the members of his organization do at City Park. I think, I've always been, my passion has always been working with children. And I just, where would we be if there were no children? What would we have to do? What would we have to look for if there were no children? So I just want to spend a few minutes on this, and 3 minutes for a school teacher is not a very long time, but I'll do my best. Everything City Park does for children is going to pay dividends to us when they get older. Anything we can do for children is going to be a benefit to us as we get older. All 3 of my children came up, I could almost say, living in New Iberia City Park. They spent the bigger portion of their first 17 or 18 years in New Iberia City Park. Most of that was done at the pool. And what benefits does the pool do for us? It is a place of recreation, but above and beyond recreation, it trains our children how to swim. And that's a life-giving, life-caring, and life-saving event. It trains them to be instructors, swimming instructors. It trains them to get certified in water safety instruction. And for the most part, now there are a few lucky kids in Iberia, they have their own private pool, but that's okay. I can appreciate that. But we need to do everything that we can to keep the momentum of the pool going. I have a granddaughter that lives a block away from the pool. She has been through all of the water instruction that is taught at the City Park Pool, and she is ready for becoming a lifeguard, and she is ready for becoming a water safety instructor. And then on a personal note, I would hate to see the bottom fall out for that, because all my kids came up in that park. All my kids came up in that pool. And I would certainly like for you to give it some super consideration so that we could keep it open. Thank you. How much time did I take?
It took 3 minutes and 25 seconds.
Oh, my.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have one other person to address the council, and I'd like to ask your permission to allow him to speak because it's not concerning an agenda item. It's Captain Ricky Boudreau. This has come up pretty suddenly, and he would like to introduce our new police liaison officer to us because he will be leaving. A motion by Mr. Swear and a second by Mr. Bagnell. Is there any objection to allow Captain Boudreau to speak? Thank you.
Good evening. It's with sadness I say goodbye, but I chose to pursue some other career opportunities. And it's been a distinct pleasure and honor to work with y'all. I think we've all developed a real good working relationship. I pray that that relationship will continue, because far too many times they say government entities cannot get along. I think we've proven that differently in the working relationship we had. The person that was chosen to take my place is someone I went to a number of times for guidance. Some of y'all are very familiar with him. He's been around a long time. He's been in law enforcement for well over 30 years. He's obviously a great leader. He's been chosen to take a tough spot, and he's a good man. So I bid y'all farewell. It's been a distinct pleasure, and Captain Freeman, Dickie Freeman, is going to be the new liaison.
Yes. Mr. Captain Freeman, would you just stand up a minute so everybody can welcome you? Did you have anything you wanted to say? No? Okay. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you. We sure hate to see you go, Captain Boudreau, but good luck to you. Yes, I'm going to let you. Just a minute. Mr. Lewis?
Cap Boudreau, come back up here. It's been an honor and a pleasure serving with you. Anytime I've called you, you've always responded. I kid you not, I couldn't get all the answers that I was looking for. Sometimes, but most of the times majority of the times I got a good response from you or call back. Because you're not elected, but you're in a political position.
Yes.
And sometimes, my colleagues, y'all need to understand something. You can't always get the answers that you want, but as a councilman, I feel it is your duty to return phone calls and get an answer to the people that you represent. And if you don't represent them, get an answer.
Right.
But I believe you've done an excellent job. It's been a pleasure
Thank
to
you very much.
work with you.
Thank
Because
you.
some nights I call you at 1, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
When my phone starts to ring, and I need
Right.
to kind of be enlightened to what's going on.
Right. When
And-
your
and-
phone was
and-
ringing, mine had already rung.
All right.
So I was
But-
out on the
but
streets already.
You were very informative to me on what you could provide
Right.
for me. And I thank you for your service
Thank
as
you.
our liaisons
Thank you.
between the city and the parish.
Mr.
right,
Merrill?
I just want to say thank you very much for what you have done for me, and I met you a short while back. It's been a while, and you've done a lot for our district, with our people, with the Neighborhood Watch, and you've helped me to pretty much corner a lot of questions. Also, Mr. Begno and his people in his district on a lot of things that's been going on as far as break-ins and all.
Right.
And always look for you for different things. So I'm going to miss you in that aspect. And I'm pretty sure our people will too, because you helped us to solve a lot of crimes in that area. And then you helped a lot of elderly people to stop being afraid to call up on the police
Right.
and say what they saw. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I hope
you.
your efforts, whatever you do, is successful for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Doyle?
Yeah, me and Mr. Boudreaux, I never saw a man so committed to city events. I don't think there was an event, or community event, he wasn't there. I don't know when he sleeps or if he sleeps. And I want to applaud your effort, because I know it's hours that most of us having a good time, having fun, and you out there working. I want to applaud that, because it's something very special and dedicated. And until you have involvement with someone such as yourself, you can't appreciate it. And I hope everything goes well, and we'll miss you, and maybe our doors will be open if something doesn't work out. We
definitely.
appreciate everything you did for the city and for the community.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Swear?
I just want to thank you, Cap, because every time I called you, you always responded, and I never had problems. And you know, and my office still stands there. I'll wait for your call.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you
All right, thank y'all.
so much. We're gonna miss you, but,
Peggy wants to
good.
say
Oh,
something?
Mr. Rack, did you wanna say something?
I just wanted to say it was a joy working with you, and you got a lot of answer to the question I need, and always got the service that I asked for. So I want to thank you so much personally
Thank
for your service and being so kind and considerate in returning your call.
Thank
And just being there to give me the answer or help in any way you could help, and you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
We good. I've already told
Oh, yeah.
Captain Boudreaux what I needed to tell him and what I expected, what I received out of his working relationship, which is unbelievable. I hope that you show Mr. Freeman where my office is so he can walk over just like you do.
Yep.
Every time I have a problem, you know what I think of you. You know I admire you in so many ways. And
Thank you very much.
I called today thinking I was going to get him, but your voice was on the voicemail. And I had to laugh. So y'all got to do that because it's still your voice. But I already have something, and I'll get with y'all tomorrow, and I wish you the best of luck. And you know if you need anything from me, you know where to find me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all very much.
Thank
you.
you.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next agenda item is a proclamation for the American Cancer Society Relay for Life. Whereas cancer will touch 1 in 2 men and women, 2 men and 1 in 3 women during their lifetime. And this year alone, over 500,000 Americans are expected to die of cancer, which is more than 1,600 people per day. And whereas nationwide, more than 1.4 million people will be diagnosed with cancer this year, and an estimated 24,930 of those cases will be Louisiana residents. And whereas the American Cancer Society is a nationwide community-based voluntary health organization dedicated to eliminating cancer as a major health problem by preventing cancer, saving lives, and diminishing suffering from cancer through research, education, advocacy, and services. And whereas Relay for Life is the American Cancer Society's signature activity, raising awareness and funds for the fight against cancer and Ray of Hope, in this year's local slogan in support of the national theme. And whereas on Friday, May 2nd, 2014, teams of community members will take turns walking or running around a track for 12 hours during this unique fundraising event to symbolize that cancer never sleeps, and therefore we cannot stop fighting because there is hope. Now therefore I, Mayor Hilda D. Curry, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the city of New Iberia, do hereby proclaim the week of April 27th through May 3rd, 2014 as American Cancer Society Relay for Life Week in the city of New Iberia, and in doing so, urge all community members to support the fundraising efforts of local Relay for Life teams, to join cancer survivors in the celebration of life and dedicate themselves to the fight against cancer by painting the town purple and attending the Relay for Life event on Friday, May 2nd, 2014. Thank you. And if you just identify yourselves for everyone, please.
I'm Kathleen Romero, and I lost my husband to cancer 5 years ago. So this means the world to me that y'all support us. And this is,
My name is Grant Viator. I am I'm Luminary Chair, part of the Relay for Life Committee this year. Fresh face to the committee, and I'm looking forward to it this year.
and I'm the co-chair of the event.
Well, we appreciate both of you being here this evening.
Thank you so much.
Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Lewis and then Mr. Bagno.
I guess they say I have much to say about much, but last year I lost my sister to pancreatic cancer. We had never experienced cancer in our immediate, with the siblings, our parents. It made me, I always appreciated those who fought that valiant fight, who was diagnosed with cancer. And matter of fact, today, right now, my niece and my wife are, right now, she battled breast cancer. Now, today, my wife's in Baton Rouge with her, battling ovarian cancer at 27 years old. It's something. It's something. But God is still great, still good all the time. And I definitely would support that if it hadn't inflicted my family, this proclamation. But I just wanted to share something personal. I don't get to do that too much because you talk too much, and in the political arena, they tend to try to use that against you. So, but I'm glad to support this proclamation here.
Mr. Bagno?
Mayor, I also, this is dear to my heart, having a father who is a survivor of cancer. I just want y'all to know that I did attend the relay for the last 2 years, and it is a great event. It's fun to watch the survivors walking around the track for the 12 hours. You can see the joy in their faces and the enthusiasm that they have. And in the line of business that I'm in, I deal with cancer claims on a daily basis, and it affects everyone, every age. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't discriminate. So this obviously is dear to my heart, and I hope to be there Friday to see the opening ceremonies, because it is spectacular for those individuals. So thank you.
Mr. Merrill?
Yes, I'm glad you guys doing this as well. I lost my mother 24 years ago to breast cancer. I was around 30 years old, and it's pretty much personal for me when they talk about that too. It was pretty hard for me to deal with at the time as a young man, but a lot of things has happened since then as far as cures for a lot of people living a lot longer with those things. And I appreciate everything you guys doing, and hope everything is successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wright.
I'm sorry. I do support y'all 100% because I am a breast cancer survivor. I'm preparing to go on the retreat for 3 days and be pampered from head to toe. And I love it. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And I'm just saying to you, keep up the good work. It is a fight. We got to keep on fighting because cancer never quit. You don't have to die from cancer, though, you know. You could rip it. There's cure in every way for cancer today. You just got to go in time. Keep going for your mammogram. Keep going for your, don't be ashamed to go for your treatment. Ask your doctor if something wrong with your body. You never know. Just be sure. Be on time. Mine was in this early stage, and I'm a happy cancer survivor of breast cancer. So y'all keep up the good work, baby. I'll be there for the Relay for Life.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to come to the meeting. Thank you. The next resolution is a resolution of sympathy. A resolution of heartfelt sympathy to the family and friends of Frances Fran M. Hadnot. And whereas Mrs. Frances Fran M. Hadnot, a lifelong resident of New Iberia, died on Friday, March 28, 2014. And whereas Ms. Hadnot was a graduate of Iberia Parish Training School and attended Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, working as a substitute teacher in Iberia Parish and providing private piano lessons for nearly 3 decades. And whereas Mrs. Hadnot is survived by 2 sons, Graylin Hadnot of Lafayette, Louisiana, and Tommy Hadnot of New Iberia, 2 granddaughters, Roxy and Hillary, and 1 grandson, Damon, along with 8 great-grandchildren and a host of relatives and friends. She was married to the late Louis Hadnot. And whereas Mrs. Hadnot saw her goal in life to be of service to the community and serve the community, she did. Her voluntary services to the community organizations such as the United Givers Fund, Iberia Parish Tourist Commission, Friends of the Library, Board of Directors for Council on Aging, and retired senior volunteer programs, Board of Directors for Bayou Teche Museum, Make a Difference, Christmas Project, RIF Chairperson, March of Dimes, Books for Babies, and her love for Iberia Medical Center volunteer Pink Ladies. This is just to name a few. And where Mrs. Hadnot had an outgoing personality and left a lasting impression on all of those she met. And whereas Mrs. Hadnot was loved by many and will truly be missed. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the City of New Iberia do hereby extend their heartfelt sympathy to the family and friends of Francis Fran M. Hadnot. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution will be sent to the family of Francis Fran M. Hadnot. And I see Tommy, and I don't know if Tommy would introduce his wife.
Graylin.
And I see Graylin, I know. Tommy would introduce his wife. Okay, and I see Graylin here also. We appreciate you being here. We all loved your mother. She also served on the Planning and Zoning Board, and I don't know why it wasn't in here in the resolution, but we appreciate her service to the city also. She was a wonderful person, and we're gonna all miss her. Thank you for being
Mayor,
here.
as you
Yes,
said,
Mr.
a
Rack.
few. You're right about that. She was the hat lady, and she led so many committees. She last year got me to come to the style had to be a judge. And that little lady is a trooper. She takes over and she's in charge, you know. And I know y'all carrying on. I'm not saying going to y'all carrying on y'all mother wishes and your father. And y'all continue to carry on her wishes because she was a trooper. She did so many things. She even told me about the black sugar cane parade. She was telling me things about that too. Yeah, that lady was into everything, I'm telling you. So y'all just keep on. Y'all got beautiful girls. Tell them to just take their grandmother footsteps. Some of them, not all. Just you got enough to share. And Tommy and Graylin, good luck, baby.
Mayor, council members, I'd like to thank you for this resolution of sympathy. I'd like to publicly thank you individually for the individual messages that you have sent to us. And lastly, I'd like to thank the general public for their prayers. They've been tremendous for uplifting our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Lewis?
I have one thing, the Hadnot clan, that I forgot in the article as well. Miss Hadnot, Mrs. Zarain, used to do some writing for the Daily Iberian.
So much.
She used to write for the city's official journal. I forgot that, and I thought of that afterwards, but I did want to mention that. She did do some writing for the Daily Iberian when I was a teenager. I do remember that now. But thank y'all. I know y'all made your mother proud. I know y'all made your mother proud, and I know she made y'all proud. I went to do some blood work at Iberia Medical the week of the funeral, and at the entrance, they have a monitor. And I looked up, turned from the girl at the desk, and I can see her in rehab. That little more, it kind of shook me. I said, she's gone, but we still could see her. Iberia Medical Center is still displaying her hard efforts for the public to see. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion in support of this resolution.
Second.
A second by Mr. Bagno. Is there any further discussion?
The big one.
Certain, I'm sorry?
More.
I'm s-
More.
I know-
That's my constituent, I can't miss it. Was a good constituent too. Second,
You want a second?
I did.
Okay.
Unanimous second.
A
Unanimous.
unanimous
second.
second. Thank you. We have a unanimous second, Madam Clerk. So thank you once again for being here. Your mother left a wonderful legacy and a beautiful family. Thank you. The next agenda item is our audit report, and our CPA firm is, some of the members of the firm are here. We have Mr. Burton Colder and Mr. Art Nixon. I think Mr. Colder will be presenting the audit findings, the audit for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Mandy's going to pass out some handouts to everyone. Instead of going through a 100-page report, we're gonna try and shorten it a little bit and try and hit some of the high spots of the audit for last year and the financial statements for the city.
This is not up or down.
Mayor, has everyone received a copy of the
Yeah.
bound report?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I'm not going to try and go over 99 pages tonight, obviously, but we will try and hit some of the high spots, and I'll make certain comments. At any time, if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to do so.
The only thing is, I didn't
sorry?
put my book in time to really go over it, you know.
Okay.
So I can't even tell you much. I went over 2 pages. I just got it,
All right.
you know.
I'll try and help out that situation with this handout that we've given you. We've extracted certain things. We've given you certain comparisons to other municipalities in which we do audits on. Our firm does audits on approximately 38 cities throughout the state, 16 sheriffs, several school boards, as well as parish governments. So we do a lot of governmental work here in this state. And this is our first year that we did the audit for the city of New Iberia. Let me start by just mentioning on pages 94 and 95, we have 3 findings in the report. Just to hit some of the high spots, you had 4 last year, and you have 3 this year. One of them involves the debt service fund and the collection of the tax. That has been corrected. You had another item this year on pages 94 and 95 relative to the occupational license, and there was no interest and penalties being charged. I think that situation is in the process of being corrected. And the other item involved the budget and the presentation of the budget and certain violations within the budget. That has since or will be corrected when you adopt your budget for this current year. So all of these items have been basically taken care of, or as I said, one of them is almost completely taken care of. It's in the process. So you should be happy to hear that. Your staff does a great job here. Kim and her staff do an excellent job. And, you know, the financial information that she presents to you, in my opinion, is very accurate. And so you can rely upon it to make decisions that you would need to make. That being said, let's start. We've just handed out some information to you.
Can I
Let's
ask a
look.
question?
Sure.
Would you prefer for them to wait until you do your presentation to ask questions?
However you
or do
prefer to
want-
do it. However you prefer to do it, Mr. Dahl. If you have a question now.
Yes, on the findings of the GO bonds,
Yes.
in layman terms, could you really, for us to correct the findings, what exactly is being done?
Well, as indicated on the management response on page 94, on that first finding, it says the city rolled back the millage to the amount required for debt service on the qualified indebtedness stated in the tax proposition authorized by the voters. So you have corrected that situation. You rolled it back.
So the finding was found for 2013 budget?
It was in there before.
It was in there before?
Yes, sir. It was in last year.
But it wasn't a new finding?
No.
We just corrected it?
No, it was not a new finding.
That's what I wanted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was corrected, but it was a finding that was prevalent or was shown last year. We saw it again this year, obviously. We're required to report upon it, but it has been corrected. So we have to indicate what management has done.
Okay.
All right?
So in the jail bond, that has been corrected, but it was findings was done prior to?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And occupation license findings is something that we are working on now to fix,
Yeah, that's correct.
correct?
Right.
And then the budget violations,
That was mainly in violation of the presentation of the budget. There's been a revision in the statute that says that you have to present supporting schedules and in presenting the budget, which we've talked to Kim about, and I think we've given her some information on that, so that'll be corrected, as well as budgeting the deficits and so on.
so those findings you found on the budget violations, is the corrections or the information that supposedly was not present, will it be present and given to the council? And
In the new budget coming up, yes, sir.
no, but on this budget, it's gonna be coming to the new budget, or you'll get the information for 2013?
No, the information was not there on last year's budget, on the budget that we were presenting.
But will we get it?
You will get it in the future.
But we won't get it from?
No,
the
you
bond?
won't go back
Okay.
retrospect,
That's what I'm
retroactive
asking.
and get it. No, sir.
Okay.
You will not.
Okay,
But you will get it going forward in the future, so it will be corrected.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, let's go to Exhibit 1. I'm going to start by talking about the sewer fund and giving you some, this is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance relative to the sewer fund. And if you look at it, we have the comparisons of 12 and 13. Total revenues in the sewer fund was 4.3 million or 4.4 million last year. It's 4,697,000 for the current year, up at the top where it says total operating revenues. Then you have the operating expenses, and one of the operating expense line items is depreciation, which you need to budget or you need to show. Your total expenses last year, $5,882,000. This year, $5,750,000. So that's a good positive thing. You've had an increase in revenues and a decrease in expenses. And it's mainly in the operational, the cost of services rendered area where you have that decrease. So that's, again, a good sign. Your loss is still there. It was $1.5 million last year in the loss category. From an operational standpoint, it's $1,052,000 for the current year. Of course, you have non-operating revenues and expenses. Mainly, it's a net expense of interest. As you can see, interest expense on the bonds, $295,000. And your loss before contributions and transfers, which is basically, and that's why I highlighted it here, that is your true loss. It's $1,393,000 last year. It's $1,258,000 this year. So your loss is down about $140,000 from the prior year. It is definitely a positive item, but you should be at least at a break even here. I mean, you should not be losing money in a utility fund. The only way to make a profit, obviously, is to increase the rates and or reduce the expenses. I don't know how much more you can't really reduce the depreciation expense, so it's going to have to be in the cost of services, which there's just so much that you can reduce it by. But anyway, it is positive, it is moving in the right direction, and I think over time you should have a plan that you could try and eliminate this deficiency that you have, or deficit that you have in this sewer fund. Any questions here? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to read this either, but on the revenue on the customers, that 3.9 million, that's a sewer user fee?
Yes, it is.
Correct, right?
Yes, it is.
And we renegotiated some bonds, and we borrowed some more money for the sewer.
Right.
Where is that? Because I know we're drawing the money from that as needed.
That's going to be in capital projects,
It won't
Mr.
be in-
Dahl? No, sir, it will
Okay.
not be shown here.
Okay.
This is handled just like a regular business. So when you go out and borrow money on a regular business, what do? You show it as a debt. So it doesn't show up as revenues.
Okay.
And that's the same situation here.
Thank you.
All right, if no further questions on Exhibit 1, why don't we flip over to, I'm
Excuse
sorry.
me, Mr. Merrill?
Mr. Merrill, yes, sir.
Yeah, you were talking about what we need to possibly do, you know, as far as to eliminate some of that services, as far as the debt.
The
You
debt.
have any ideas?
Well, there's two things that you can do. One is to reduce expenses.
We've
and-
done a lot of that
and
already.
you have done quite a bit of that, or to increase the sewer rates. And we're gonna give you some comparisons to some other cities that you can see here, some others that we do work on.
Okay.
And as public records, I'm not speaking out of school, so to speak.
Right.
So we'll take a look at that. But that's basically the major option that you have, the way I see it, is to try and increase, or gradually bring up the rate so that you can at least break even on this.
That's what I was asking.
Yes,
to know
sir.
If it gradually is something that's the way
Right,
you
if
have it worked out.
you know, you're gonna have certain expenses that are gonna increase just because of inflation.
Correct.
That's a known fact. We all incur it in our everyday lives. So you need to provide for that, and you need to increase your rates accordingly to at least cover that. Plus, in your case, you need to cover a little bit more than just the inflation
So
rate.
you're talking about like in a 5-year period or something, or?
Some sort of plan, yes, sir. 5 years would be a good plan.
Right.
That if you could do it and try and gradually bring it up such that you could be at a break-even standstill
All right.
after depreciation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Another question. On the sewer user fee, we went up on our sewer user fee 30%. Okay, last year.
Right.
And it looks like our income only went up $400,000 with our 30%
Increase?
increase.
When
We're
was the
projecting
increase done?
much more than that.
Yeah, because it wasn't a full year.
May?
It wasn't a full year.
It wasn't a full year, so it was just basically for 6 months.
Okay. So it looks like it could go up a total of $1 million for a year if it went up, or 800,000 if we're going on the same numbers as the 6
Correct.
months. And the $790,000 is the parish flow that we are now metering and charging them to come in our plant. And I'm just wondering why. I know we're taking more flow.
Yeah.
And
Why is it down?
the down.
Why is it down a little
Yeah,
bit?
that's just amazing, because we are
don't
taking
know.
more flow than we ever took before.
In 2012, the revenue included some capital. So capital expenses that was not present in 2013 numbers. So there is more revenue coming in from the actual flow part because that capital piece is going away. That's one-time expense that we incurred that was passed on to the parish.
So, Kim, so the 790 is no capital, it's mostly sewer user?
There might be a little bit, but we handled the projects differently in 2013.
So it is an increase in flow?
Correct.
These numbers just doesn't show it because of what?
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet that I've been doing to keep
Okay.
track of the actual flow part. I can provide it to you.
Yeah.
How much
Okay.
you think, Kim, off the top of your head, was capital last year versus this year?
I wouldn't know.
You don't know?
Just a question, because I know the investment we had in the meters and the opportunity we were letting the parish, and that was a selling point about it would help our budget. And I thought last year we were projecting at least over 750, and right now, I think we got 790. So I was just
790.
wondering if, what was included in that? But this is more of a true number in 213 than it is
In 12.
12.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think once, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
When y'all order these books, do y'all look at the expenses of operating the sewage plant versus what it costs us, you know, like our manpower and all that? Do y'all put together?
Do we do a study of that? No,
Yeah.
sir, we don't do that. We audit the numbers that are presented and do certain testing upon those numbers. But no, we do not do an evaluation, I guess is what you're asking.
Yeah.
No, sir. Any additional questions? Okay, next page is Exhibit 2. You might want to flip to this one. And you can see the approximate number of customers because we had a little bit of a difficulty trying to get these numbers. So we presented, we didn't have it for the prior year, so we used the same numbers for every year. So if you might say, well, how can that be the same number of customers? It's not, guys, but just to give you a comparison, we used the same numbers that we had for 13 and 12 and 11. But just to show you the net income, and this is again a rough average per customer per month. So we didn't do any engineering type of evaluations, but it's just straight numbers, but it's done the same way each year, so it is comparable. And looking at it on the income per customer per month, because a lot of times you want to narrow it down as to how much are we losing or how much are we making per customer. So let's look at that. The income for the city of New Iberia in 11 was $27.30. So an average consumer that was using sewer, an average, would have been paying $27 a month. In 2012, it was $29.71, and in 13, it averaged out to $30.49. And Mr. Dahl just indicated what we went up 30% on the rates. Well, you don't see a 30% increase because you'd see it at $33 here, is what you would see. But again, it was only a half year, and it is a rough average. So it depends on the amount of consumption that they're using with the water. Look at your cost, though, on the other hand. Your cost in 11 was $38.73. Your cost last year was $40.05, and in 13 the cost went down to $37.32. So we're moving in the right direction. We're trying to modify and reduce the cost. And you know, you went down $3 or 2.5, basically $2.70 per customer per month on the operating expenses. But your loss is, you know, you can see it was $11.43 in 11, $10.34 in 12, and $6.83 in 13. As Mr. Merrill indicated earlier, I think a good plan would be to systematically have something that we could go up a little bit more than the inflation rate to make up for this $7 deficiency that we have. We do it over 5 years, you're talking about $1 something per customer per month every year, going up a little bit on it. It's not tremendous. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, I want to applaud this council because if you look at these numbers, in 2 years, we brought the loss in half than it was. And we implemented a sewer user fee, 30%, as I mentioned, and we have a CPI connected to it now that was not. So I know it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And you know, you have to crawl before you can walk. And I believe this council really took some action to make it better. And it shows in the numbers that we might be losing, we were losing half of what we were before.
Right.
And we did connect the CPI into it, that was never part of it. So I think we are taking
So
action.
you're moving in the right direction. The only thing I'm going to caution you, Mr. Dahl, I know I have another client that you're going to look at it in just a minute on the next page, but the city of Carencro, they have that particular situation where they have an ordinance where all of their utilities, being gas, water, and sewer, based on CPI, we're going to adjust them. However, last year, Glenn and the mayor and them had to look at it because they were still losing money. So they had to go up a little bit more than the CPI. It's a good benchmark, and we've been using it, or they've been using it all these years, or a few years, but it still wasn't enough, so they had to have a little bit of a bump. But you have that option to do that as well. And I would strongly suggest that we continue on that same pattern and get this thing into a profitable situation. You know, and like you said, within 5 years, I think would be a good plan.
Let me ask you a question. They CPI must have was something they set a long time ago.
Oh, in Carencro?
Yeah.
It's probably been about 8 years, if I had to guess, that we had set that, or they had set this up. And they go ahead and compute it, and then they ask us as their auditors to check their numbers. So we do that.
Right.
And last year when we looked at it, said, yeah, but that's not gonna be enough. And so they came back with the budget, and they adopted it with a little bit higher than the CPI. And it works. Okay, next page on Exhibit 3, we're going to look at some comparisons that we've given y'all to a couple of other cities, one being the city of Carencro and the other being the city of Lafayette, both of which are clients of ours. The city of Lafayette, as you see, has 42,000 customers, so quite a bit more than we have here. But look at their rates, $56 per customer per month. And I can attest to that. I live in the city limits of the city of Lafayette, and I pay the sewer rate. So normally if my water bill is $20, my sewer bill is going to be 3 times that. It's going to be $60.
Is that a flat rate?
Oh, no. It's based on water consumption. Yes, sir.
Because right now, my sewer bill runs me around $80 a month right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
Wow, it's based on sewer.
Yeah.
It's based on water, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's pretty high.
That's pretty high, man.
Check it.
You must be losing a lot of water.
Yes, sir.
Obviously. But it's just myself and my wife, so we're an average consumer, maybe 6,000 to 7,000 gallons, and this is what I'm paying. So I can attest to what the numbers indicate here. You look at the cost for the city of Lafayette, $47.34, and they're making $8.66 per customer. City of Carencro, I just alluded to them, only 2,165 customers, within the corporate limits having sewer services, but their income is $35.72. Their cost is $39.61, and they're still losing $3.89. But again, they've been on a plan to try and reduce this, and they're trying to habitually reduce it every year. Look at your situation. You're at $30.49. Your operating expenses are running about $37. You're cheaper than the other two cities that we've presented as far as your costs go. But your rates are less as well. So you're losing $6.83 more than the other, well, more than Carencro, and of course Lafayette's making money. So just to give you some benchmarks. Now we have some other cities, city of Broussard, for example, but they get an enormous amount of sales tax revenues.
Right.
They're losing money on sewer, but they're subsidizing it through the sales tax. Okay, you don't have that here.
One question.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir.
Your operating expense consists of operation of the plant, such as the electricity, the O&M, nothing to do with the borrowed money, anything?
No.
Just
Just
O&M
the
of the plant.
operations of the plant, and the depreciation is included in that, Dan.
Now, is this income of this $30.49, is it part of that money that we get from the?
From the parish?
Parish is
Yes.
part of that?
Yes, I think we put, yes.
Is part of that
We have
income?
put that in there.
Okay.
I'll turn to Mandy, because she's the manager on our job, and her and I worked on the numbers, so she would know better than I, but yes, it should.
Well, I'm just, for my information, I didn't know.
You're trying to get all of the income coming in,
Right,
you know,
I
and
understand.
you are getting that income into the sewer, even though you just, you
But
know,
it's only
through the
O&M,
plant.
not about, nothing about,
No, sir.
okay, thank you.
No, the interest, as you recall, was below the line.
I got you.
It was in non-operating.
Okay.
Okay? Any additional questions here? I think
Anyone?
we've made our point. I think you're moving in the right direction, but you're not there yet. We need to continue to move. All right? All right, the next thing we'd like to look at, and again, we've given you some exhibits to help out here. This was obviously extracted from the report, and then some of these cases, we had to add the prior year number on it. Let's go to exhibit number 4. And this is a comparison of, on a one-page document, we're going to look at the overall operations of the city of New Iberia compared to your budget, and we have prior year numbers for 3 years, as you can see. So right by the dark barred line here that's in the middle of the page, you have 2012, 2011, and 2010. You have the total numbers there, and then, of course, we have the budget comparisons to the actual, and then the variance for 2013, the year that we just audited. You may not have seen this before. This is not anywhere in this report. In order to get this information, you probably have to go to 6 different pages and take it from each fund and so on and bring it together. We tried to do it on one page so you can see what it looks like. This is overall for the city. Okay, if you look at your revenues in 2010, at the top of the page, total revenues were $28,605,000. In 2011, they were $29,249,000, and in 12, they were $30,428,000. In 2013, we're at $31,061,000. Let me just caution you, if you look at that miscellaneous number, see it's $825,000 under the actual column. Look at last year, it was only $244,000. You had a one-time garbage type rebate that was received, and Kim, you just told me, I think it's around $700,000. So $700,000 of that is not recurring, okay? It's not something you're gonna get every year. You're gonna get a rebate, but not that much, because that was a correction. So you could back off $700,000 off that 31 million, then you're back to where you were last year. Your revenues are flat. You had a slight increase in sales tax, but virtually the revenues of this city are flat from the prior year. So you've got a stagnant revenue base to start with, all right? And you can see where the revenues came from. You have ad valorem tax, you have sales taxes, and that's the 2% sales tax. That's all of the sales tax. And you have franchise taxes, and so on, and licenses, permits, intergovernmental revenues, charges for services, which is the sewer charges, fines and forfeits, and that's minimal. And of course, we just talked about the miscellaneous. So total revenues for the city, $31.1 million. You had budgeted $29 million, so we're up $1.3 million over what you had anticipated. Okay?
Well, question.
Yes, sir.
You said the charges for the services, the 5.5 million?
Well,
You said
5.5 million is
7.3.
4.9 million, really.
4.9, that's sewer user
Well,
fee
it's
and what
sewer
else?
and should be garbage.
Garbage, okay,
Yes,
that's what I
should be
need.
both,
Thank
because
you.
the sewer, if you recall, was only like 3 million.
3 something,
Yeah,
that's why we
that's
mentioned
correct.
that. Okay.
So $31 million is your total revenues, and it included $700,000 of one-time garbage type rebate. Now, the expenditures, how did we spend the money? As you can see under administration, $2.5 million, but last year you spent $2.9 million. The year before that was $3.3 million. This is just operations. Under public safety, which is police and fire, you spent $10.7 million, $10,779,000 this year, as opposed to $11.4 million last year and $11.1 million the year before. So again, that has come down as well. Public Works, $7.7 million last year, $7.1 million in 2011. This year, $6.1 million. And I asked the mayor in our exit conference, how's your infrastructure? And she said the infrastructure is not very good. We need to spend more money on our infrastructure and to maintain that infrastructure. But here you're coming down on it. But again, I know you have budget constraints. So, the culture and recreation last year was $1.9 million. In 2011, it was $2.1 million. This year, $1,157,000. You had budgeted $1,280,000 for recreation. You spent quite a bit less. In every category, if you look at it compared to the budget, we're less so far of every one we've looked at. Then in urban redevelopment and housing, which is basically your Section 8 program funded by the feds, here you had budgeted $1,273,000. You spent $1,266,000. Last year was $1,430,000. Under utility fund expenses, you had $3.2 million. This is the sewer, and then of course you have depreciation of $2.4 million. We just looked at those numbers. Those are very close to the utility fund expenses are quite a bit more than what was anticipated, but are less than where they were in the prior years. Depreciation is pretty much on target. Debt service, your principal retirement on your debt is shown, $1.9 million. It was $2 million last year. Interest and fiscal charges, $1.1 million on the bonded debt as opposed to $1.2 million last year. Capital outlay for this city, you had budgeted $5.3 million, but again, you only spent $804,000. I think some of this is probably going to be carried over into a future year, but those monies you should have available for capital. So, and you see the little asterisk in the one, and I'm going to show you what we did down at the bottom to give you a better frame of mind on that, because you just didn't spend those. You anticipated it, but you didn't get to it this year. But total expenditures for the city at $31,428,000, and includes $800,000 of capital outlay. So basically, your operational expenditures, including debt service, if you back off the $800,000 against the $31.1 million, well, we're what, at $29.6 million. And as we said up above, basically the revenues, aside from the $700,000, we're basically at $30,300,000. So you don't have much cushion there. Matter of fact, you have a deficiency of $367,000 at this line item. Last year, that deficiency was $7.5 million, and the year before that was $10.2 million. And some of that includes bonded debt, and you're spending some of that bonded debt money because you can see the capital outlay.
Well,
yes, sir.
I mean, but so you look at 2013, our deficit was much less, but the $367,000, is that the deficit that supposedly was the fire department? Or where did we get that deficit?
The deficit is after you've, from what department it is?
Well, like, supposedly we adopted a balanced budget, right?
Okay, you did.
Okay, we did.
Yeah.
And what comes up to make that $367,000 deficit?
Well, let's go on down the line, though,
Okay.
Mr. Dahl. You see that the bottom line, about the third to line item from the bottom, it's in excess of $823,000. Okay, is what you ended up the year. Now, in the excess or deficiency, you were showing $4.5 million, but you had a lot of capital outlay, which was some capital project monies that you had bonded, and you were spending them this year. So if you back off your capital outlay of $5.3 million, you look at that towards the middle of the page,
Yes,
subtract that from your deficiency of $4.5 million or 4.5 million, you basically adopted a balanced budget. You see my very last line item when Mandy and I did the adjustment
Yes.
for the capital outlay, we showed a $3,000. Basically, it's a break-even budget. Okay, so what was said and what you just stated, I think, is a true statement.
So we are doing much better.
Absolutely, you're
Okay.
doing much better, much better. If you look at the prior years, you
Yeah.
can see that. I just asked the mayor when we had our exit last week, I said, can you cut some more? And Mayor Curry's comment was, and she's shaking her head now.
Absolutely not.
Not much, if any.
That's the
You
only
say
reason
no.
why- That's the only reason why we where we at right
And,
now.
you know, I'll tell
It's
you,
because
the
she's cutting. We're gonna look
council
at that in a minute.
and the public, that we absolutely cannot cut our budget anymore and provide services.
Right,
I
you'll
mean,
have to cut
We have
services.
cut, when you see all of these cuts, it is a sacrifice to the services that we provide. And I want to make a comment right now and compliment our department heads and all of the employees of the city, because they have been working overtime and, you know, doing a really good job working with a shoestring, because we have half the number of employees at the park, we have half the number in Public Works. Every department has cut back, and they're still providing the work. It might take us a little bit longer, but we're doing the best we can do. And you understand the fact that everything keeps increasing, and our revenue has been flat. And, you know, we have to bring in more revenue. That's the bottom line. We cannot cut.
But your only revenue sources are gonna be increasing sewer charges.
Exactly.
Or go back to the voters and ask for some sort of increase, maybe a dedicated tax, whether it be ad valorem or whether it be sales, but that's your only other option.
There's no other way.
There's no other way
I
to be able to do
understand that.
this.
And I've tried twice to present, you know, taxes, to bring them to the public, to let them vote. And I think that's the only option we have, is to give the citizens an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to pay more
Or
for the
reduce the
services.
services.
Or reduce our services.
Right, that's your only choice, the way I see it. I'm just an independent looking in. But basically, you know, you can cut your expenses or increase your revenue. Same thing I just said about the sewer. But the sewer, you can adjust the rates, but you can't adjust the sales taxes.
No.
And you can't adjust the ad valorem tax without going to the voters.
And you don't have a lot of new
But I think
business
there's gonna
coming
be
in.
a choice that's gonna need to be made and a decision that's gonna need to be made, because your expenses, as I would tend to agree with you, Mayor, that I think you've cut it as much as probably y'all can do without curtailing the services further. Yes, sir.
Our biggest expense is infrastructure right now, you know. Right now, that we have an election coming starting this Saturday where the voters will have a chance to pass a tax where we can do all the streets and that, you know, so that's
Yeah.
gonna take a big burden off of us if we pass that tax.
Right.
Mr. Doyle?
One question.
Yes, sir.
You said in the last couple of years, our revenue has been flat.
They
And I
have.
think we probably just, our budget we adopted last year, I think we cut almost close to $2 million probably.
We've cut $3 million
You know,
in the last 2
so
years.
we did do the cuts that,
Yep.
but what do you see the percentage of our expenses averaging increasing per year? Do you have an average, say, well, it looks like your expenses increasing 10, 12% a year?
I don't think they're increasing 10 or 12. If you just, we kind of getting ahead of ourselves, because
Okay.
I want to show y'all some stuff on how much we're spending per day, and how much are we spending by department per day. And I think we're bringing it down so we can see, well, how much are we spending? Where are the increases? And let's look at it, and we'll get to that in just a minute, if you just pardon me and just wait with me for just a moment here. But overall, we're pleased with what we see. It's a good direction, but I don't know if we can go any further without some enhancements in revenues, and I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And, you know, and the citizens will have to decide that. But you can see every one of these categories, you did very well compared to budget, and in most cases, they are down from the prior year. Okay? All right, let's go to Exhibit 5. Tell you what, before we go to Exhibit 5, let's go to Exhibit 7, because that's going to go right along with what we were just saying. We only, on Exhibit 7, so revenue and expenses per day for this city. And we have it broken out for you as to how much ad valorem taxes we're bringing in on an average day, and how much we were doing last year. And look at this, you can see ad valorem tax was 11,108 last year, it's 11,579 average for 13. In the sales tax, we were at 40,000 a day last year. Look at what it is, 40,797 this year. So it's a little bit of an increase.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
it's not-
1.9%, guys. It's not a big
It's not
amount.
enough to make a difference.
I mean, we're fortunate in Lafayette Parish. I mean, the city of Broussard's increase is a tremendous. Youngsville, city of Lafayette's are up, probably 9%. You know,
Those taxes
and
make
you
a
know, if you
difference
put
that they pass.
9% here, there would be, you know, significant numbers. Franchise tax, you can see, I mean, it's pretty flat. It's 4,700 versus 4,900 a day. Licenses and permits, you do have an increase there as well. But look at intergovernmental, and that fluctuates. It was 9,600 last year, it's down to 7,200. So whatever increases we might have had in the other categories, we soaked it up in intergovernmental, which is coming from another governmental source, being the state of Louisiana, or parish government, or whatever. Charges for services. 12,930 average per day last year, 13,500. Now you did increase some of the rates. Miscellaneous, $671 versus 2,200. But we just talked about the fact that the majority of that 2,200 is a one-time adjustment that we had with the provider. So you look at the totals though, 83,364 is what this city brings in average per day. And that was last year. This year is $85,100. Now look at the expenses.
One second.
Yes, sir.
You skipped over the fines. It's
Well,
$17 a
it's
day
nothing.
versus
15.
$15. So that's a revenue from what?
City court, we get
Okay, cool.
zero.
Nothing.
No, but
No tickets being written.
but
Who's saying?
at city court.
We
Yep.
get nothing from city court anymore.
Yep.
When I took office in 2005, we were getting $100,000 a year. We're getting nothing.
It went up.
Yeah.
Went up $2 a day, Dan. It went up $2 a day.
Well, that's 365 days. Better going down.
Okay, the expenditures. In the general government area, you can see you went from $8,100 a day to $6,700 a day. On public safety, police and fire, you went from $31,200 a day to $29,500 a day. On the public works, $21,000. Again, you mentioned it earlier, y'all cut that one to the bone, so to speak.
Excuse me. Let me stop you
$16,700.
one
Yes, sir.
second. Public safety went down. Was that the elimination of Quentin's job? Is that why it went down?
That wasn't all of it.
No.
Some of it's reduction
some
in the
of it.
fire department.
Right.
Some reductions in the fire department.
Okay.
And
I
it's
just want-
There was
and
no
it's
reductions,
I want to clarify
there
that.
was
Okay.
no reductions in
Okay.
law
That's-
enforcement,
That's what I thought. Okay.
but there were
sorry.
reductions in the fire department.
And permits and also, that's public safety. Permits and. Permits and,
No, that's on the license.
no, that's under permits. That's under public safety. When you have your graph,
Oh,
permits and compliance is
compliance,
public safety.
safety. It is, you're right, compliance is
So we
public
eliminated those
safety.
jobs too.
Yeah, compliance,
Yeah.
well, we eliminate, that's
Yeah.
part of the reason.
That's under
Public safety was compliance department, fire department,
Police
and police.
And fire.
And we
Yeah, a lot of
eliminated
people
the
think that
entire
we
compliance
eliminate
department
those.
and consolidated with the permit department. So that is part of our reduction. Absolutely part of it. Okay,
Well, it looks like, I mean, from what I remember, the public safety police or police protection is probably about 60% of that total number, and maybe 40% on the fire. It's approximate splits on it. Okay, we talked about public works. You can see the tremendous reduction there from 21,000 a day to 16,700. Look at culture and recreation. Mayor Curry mentioned that too. 5,297 per day to $3,170 a day. Urban redevelopment and housing, 3,921 versus $3,469. Utility fund expenses, $9,470 versus $8,950. That's on the operational side. The depreciation did go up slightly from $6,600 to $6,800. But again, operations, you were able to bring that down. Debt service is down slightly from $5,600 to $5,400. The interest is down slightly from $3,300 to $3,100. And the capital outlay down dramatically from $8,900 per day to $2,200 a day. This is far insufficient for what the needs of this size city would be. A city of 30,000 people, to be spending this amount of capital outlay is very, very minor. Total expenditures for the city of New Iberia. Last year, we were spending an average per day of $103,944 and only bringing in $83,364. You were losing $20,000 a day. This year, you've done a great turnaround. You brought revenues up slightly, and your expenditures have been cut, and you're down to 86,000 a day versus 85,000 in your cost. I mean, your revenues. So you're only losing $1,000 a day, and then, of course, you have the interest costs and so on. But going on down, excess or deficiency of revenues, when you add back the other items that are in here, you're down to basically $657 a day versus $18,000 loss last year. So y'all did a tremendous job on handling biting the bullet, so to speak, in 1 year. But I think we need to look at some methodology in which we can continue this pace forward, not at the same pace that you had. I don't think you can't sustain that. Any questions, Mr. Doyle? You had some questions. Have I answered those now?
Yes, I'm sorry, I just, yeah.
No, but I mean, I wanted to make sure, because I knew this would maybe show you where we've been and, or where you've been and where you are now.
Well, it just showed at the end of the page that the excess in revenue, you had 2256 versus 2012, 17,900.
Right. Now, Kim can tell you that, but that 2,200, we had, again, a one-time transfer that took place. So basically, when y'all did the budget, and it was a standstill budget, that's exactly what it was. You had some other extraordinary items that are non-recurring.
But it's still...
But still, it's very positive,
Yeah.
Dan, absolutely. Going from $18,000 loss per day down to even a break even. That's phenomenal.
Almost making money.
Right, almost.
But there's a lot of non-recurring.
There's some non-recurring revenues in here that you will not have this current fiscal year. I mean,
If you remember, the fireman pension fund was 1.1 million, I
Right.
think, when we closed that fund out. So we won't have that this year.
and you won't have that adjustment that we talked about earlier of about
Right, the
$700,000.
adjustment
So
of
there's
the-
$1.8 million.
Right.
That's gone.
Yep.
Right.
So, any questions here? All right, I think we had looked at the Exhibit 4. Let's look at 5. This will give you the net position of the city. This is a balance sheet, so to speak, of the city of New Iberia. It includes all the assets, includes all the debts, and it, what's the bottom line, or what's the net position, as we call it. It's used to be a lot of businesses, of course, it's retained earnings, but this is the net equity. So let's look. I'm going to focus on the third column and the fourth column. The third column being the totals for 2013. The totals for 12 are listed on the far right. So we're going to focus on number 3 and number 4, the third and fourth columns. Cash and interest-bearing deposits that you had here at the city. Last year at 12, you had $16.5 million, and this year you have $15.7 million. But remember, a lot of this cash is restricted. So it's not necessarily just operational cash, but we have to present it, so I'm going to show you the total numbers. Accounts receivable, pretty much the same, $384,000 versus $408,000. Due from other governments, $300,000 versus $250,000 is pretty close. Due from other governmental agencies, $3 million versus $2.7 million. Going on down, the bigger items again become the capital assets. Non-depreciable, which would be the land, and so if you had any capital projects in process, anything that's non-depreciable, was $8.1 million last year, $6.8 million this year. Your net depreciable assets, which is all the assets owned by this city, at approximate book value. I say approximate because we take some depreciation on them based on the estimated useful life, just like a normal business would. So the net estimated depreciable value is $84.6 million versus $87.1 million. So total assets of the city of New Iberia, $117 million. Last year, $112 million for the current year, or as of the end of the current year, ending October 31st. Now, the liabilities, what did we owe? Going on towards the bottom of the page, I'm not going to read every line item, but the total liabilities last year were $50.7 million, and this year we're at $44.3 million. That includes all bonded debt. You can see bonded debt was $33.8 million last year. We're at $31.6 million for the current year. We have that category down there just right above total liabilities, OPEB obligation, other post-employment benefits. This is an actuarial computation based on the future benefits that will have to be paid to employees, mainly for health services. As you can see, that number went down. I think there were some modifications made to the plan, and it's $4.6 million as estimated by the actuaries. So the net position, if you take the total assets up at the top of 111 million, I'll subtract out the total liabilities that we owe. So what we have and what we owe minus what we owe, we're left with a net position of $67 million. Now, the city of New Iberia does not have $67 million. If you want to subtract, yeah, obviously we've shown you what you've reinvested back into capital is $60,000. So that money's gone. You've already spent it in bricks and mortar, this building that we're sitting in, the infrastructure owned by this city. You have capital restrictions, capital projects restrictions. I'm going to get to the bottom line, the unrestricted. That's the number we want to look at. Unrestricted deficit last year was 5.4 million. This year is 3.6 million. And I'm going to refer you now to the next page. Let's go to the next page. Let's start with that 3.5 million unrestricted net position. Last year was 5.5 million. I'm going to add back that OPEB obligation because that's an obligation that you're going to fund over time. You're going to fund it every year. So I'm going to add that back. What's our available net position? You can see that in 2000, at the end of 2012, it was $172,000 as a deficit. We've come back a long way. We're at $1,089,000 as a positive. Average daily expenditures, we said, is $83,900. We just looked at that. They were $94,000 last year. Amount recommended that you should have as an available surplus, and I have in parentheses 60 days. This is what accounting literature says that a government should generally like to have. 60 days of operations. You should have $5,034,000. It was $5.6 million last year. But because you've cut your expenses, that number has come down. So you can see the shortage. Last year you were right at $6 million deficiency at this line item. This year we're at a $3.9 million deficiency. So it is much better, but it is still a deficit. So you'd want to get that number that you would have at least 60 days of operational, unrestricted availability. Yes, sir.
The unrestricted money, we subtracted 3.9 from the 5 million. That's the unrestricted balance we have, correct?
Well, you don't have the 5 million. You only have the $1,089,000.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, you have the $1,089,000 that I'm
available.
subtracting from what I think you should have, and it's not what Burton thinks.
No, I
it's
understand.
what governmental accounting.
That's
literature.
what we have, $1,089,000.
That's correct. You have $1,089,000.
And another question on, and I don't know if it fits on Exhibit 5 or not. We just put some money into a sinking fund for the bond, $800,000, I think. Is that anywheres? You remember?
That shouldn't be. I mean, that's in debt
Because that
service.
was 2013 that we did it for, didn't we?
2012.
So that money we did was for 2012 budget? That money we just did with the sinking fund, the 800,000 we had to take from our unrestricted funds.
Right, it's gonna be transferred in the 2014 budget. It's an adjustment on the 2014 budget, but it's, the reason that we're transferring it, it's from something that existed from 2012.
Not 2013. So that's what I'm asking.
Okay. But wouldn't this be considered a dedicated monies in debt service, restricted for debt service? On my presentation here?
Yes.
So it's taken out, Dan.
But if we wouldn't do it, did that net position would be 1.8 million, right? That 800,000 came from our available net monies?
What
Where
you're
did that
saying-
come from? Where did that money come from? Unrestricted funds, correct?
370 came from the disaster fund and 540,000 came from the general fund.
And they were both unrestricted funds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is that maybe we took some dedicated monies.
No, we
Right.
did. No, I'm not saying
And
that.
we were able to transfer it, but
No.
no.
No, I'm not saying that.
So I think this is the case
No,
here.
she's
is-
very,
Yeah.
right, it's right. I'm just trying to figure out where the money came from.
Right.
That's it. Thank you.
But, so, guys, y'all basically have 20% of what you need to have, is what it amounts to. You should have 5 million, you're at about 1 million, okay? So, in order to get to that position, you're gonna have to have some surpluses. You're gonna have to have some additional, revenues over expenditures that you're spending. Any questions? Okay, that's Exhibit 6. I think we've already looked at 7.
Yeah.
When we looked at the per day stuff. And we'll conclude on the last 2 pages, on the last page, I should
Last
say.
page, 8.
Page 8 is the last one we have. And all we did here was give you several cities, all of which we do work for, so we're not speaking out of school on these. It's public record. They can get the same information from the city of New Iberia. But we presented the city of Opelousas, the city of Carencro, the city of Leesville, the city of Lafayette, the city of Youngsville, and the city of Broussard. And you can see the populations that we have on each one of these cities and what's their sales tax rate. You can see that city of New Iberia is second only to the city of Lafayette as far as population. Opelousas is only about 16,000 people. All the others are quite a bit smaller. But look at the sales tax rate. You're at 2%. City of Opelousas is at 4%. You're bringing in annual revenues of $14.9 million on 2 cents. They're bringing in only $8.9 million on 4.
4%.
Yeah. Now they're having budget problems as well.
Yeah.
You might have read that. City of Carencro, 2% brings in $3 million. Leesville brings in 4.3. City of Lafayette, $78 million. City of Youngsville, 6.2, and the city of Broussard, with a 2.5% sales tax, is at $10.1 million.
And Youngsville is 3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
Youngsville have the biggest increase pretty much.
But let me just tell y'all, like, we do both of those cities, obviously, but they both passed a 1 cent, well, Broussard passed a half-cent sales tax for recreation. Youngsville had to pass a 1 cent sales tax for recreation. Broussard's half-cent sales tax brings in more than Youngsville's 1% sales tax because of all the businesses that are there. Yep. We gave you revenues per person, based it on population. Here you're bringing in $482 per citizen. Opelousas is at $539. Carencro is at $382. Leesville is at $631. Lafayette $639. Youngsville $701. And Broussard $1,172. So, yeah, it's almost laughable. I'll tell you how big it is. But ad valorem millage, you can see you're at 21 mills here. Opelousas is at 7 mills. Carencro's at 4.6. Leesville's at 18.7. Lafayette's 17.9. And Youngsville's at 11.6. Broussard has eliminated the property tax because of the sales tax. So they got rid of it. They were able to. I don't blame them.
Well, they had to give them something.
Well, yeah, so we gave them something in return. But annual revenues, you can see how much you bring in with your millage, and you can see how much revenue per person. You can see that New Iberia is at $137, not that high, really. Opelousas is very low. Carencro is quite a bit higher at $464. Leesville's low. Lafayette, $168 per person, $169 per citizen. And Youngsville's at $97. So we came back and we said, okay, what's your total for property tax and sales tax? If I'm a citizen of New Iberia, this is what the average is, $620 versus Opelousas at $598. Carencro's at $850 or $848. Leesville's at $691. Lafayette is at $808. Youngsville's at $798, and Broussard's at $1172. You can clearly see Broussard does not have any budget problems, and so on. But my point here, guys, is that your revenues are very on the low end as compared to these other cities. And you could do your comparisons anyway. We just took some of our clients because we had the information readily available. But I think that your spending has been you've done pretty much all you can do on the spending, from what I'm understanding, from what I'm seeing. So the problem, I think, is a revenue problem that you have, that you need to maybe look at trying to enhance that in the future. The avenue that you choose to do so is strictly up to this council. But I think something will need to be done if you want to be able to move forward and continue to provide the services that you're providing currently to the citizens of this city. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Well, I'd just like to make a comment. I know this is boring to the people out there listening on TV, but this information you gave us makes it so simple for us to understand it, because the decisions we make are not always easy, and it's very complicated. And luckily, we have somebody experienced like Kim with the city, because it's the biggest asset that I think we can have to get us on the right track. And with you breaking this down this way, it really makes it better. I mean, I ask questions, I don't understand it, and I want to understand it.
Right.
But it makes it a lot easier to understand it when you do this. I know you don't have to do this, and it shows that this is an open book. This is what it is. Y'all make the decisions, but you give the information. And I think it's very easy, and I appreciate the time and effort.
and knowing that, being an elected official is not always easy to go up on things or to cut services, but it's things that we have to do.
Right.
And I think you just giving us the information that's presented to you, and I appreciate that.
Well, I thank you for that. Mayor Curry had mentioned it to me earlier that she liked the way it was done and that, she could understand it better. And we try and do that. We have to provide a service because you're mandated to have an audit. We do that service. It goes to the legislative auditor. Your report has already been sent to them. But on the other side of the coin, I want to see if there's some stuff that I can see or we can see as CPAs for the city to enhance your knowledge and your ability to manage. I think the better off we all are.
Is it, how long you been doing it for the city?
For this city?
Yeah.
This year.
First year.
Very
First year.
impressed, because it is nice. And,
Well, I appreciate
and,
that.
we got Mr. Mixon, local person, and
Right,
that,
right.
so we appreciate
Yeah,
that.
our firm's right across the street from you guys.
Right, so thank you all for the
I have a
support.
question, and I mean, I don't know how the council's, gonna receive this, but if at some point in time we would decide to move forward with proposing a sales tax to the citizens, could you work with us to determine which, as a budgetary, because of your knowledge of our budget, could you make recommendations to this council? I'm not saying tonight, but in the future,
Sure.
if they should decide to go to the citizens, as to what we should ask for the funds.
Give you some input, I think is
Input.
what you're asking, Mayor.
Exactly.
Yes, we can do that.
Input.
We can't make the decision
No,
for you.
no.
But to provide you with management advisory services, absolutely, we can do that. That does not impair our independence. We have to be independent CPAs to do the audit. But that doesn't impair the independence to work with Kim and you and your staff and this council
To
to
make
do that.
recommendations
Absolutely
as to
not.
what areas it would be most beneficial to propose the taxes
Right.
to the public, to propose those taxes for the public to vote on.
Right. We work with a lot of our clients in that same fashion. Matter of fact, I spoke with the mayor of Karen Crowe today. We're doing their audit at this time. And Glenn had some questions about some things, and I'm helping him and the city manager and the bonding attorney on some capital outlay and their plan for the future. I'm not making the decision, I'm just providing input.
Right.
And so we're working at, so we do this habitually, put it this way. So certainly we'd be happy to do that. Sure.
Mr. Merrill?
Yeah, I think that we all are aware of the fact that we need to do something. I'm saying we just can't sit back and wait up on this year, which is almost we're getting halfway through, to be able to look into what we need to do for the next year and the previous years to come. We just have to be able to get together as a council to decide, where we're gonna look at as far as what we're gonna look at as far as the taxes and all kind of pretty much, we might not all agree upon exactly everything as far as the dedicated taxes, but if we can come together to be able to have some type of solution to whereas we can mostly agree upon it, we can look at trying to take this further into the next year, but it's not it's not like we don't know what needs to be done. Everybody knows what needs to be done.
Mr. Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Begno had.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Begno?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I also want to commend y'all and thank y'all for the report that you gave, and it is easier for us to understand and read it. And I think Mr. Dahl made a comment about it being boring for some of the people watching, but we have a lot of constituents who do watch, and I think the way it was explained, I think it's going to be easier for them to understand the situation we're in. So I do appreciate that, and
Thank you.
I'm told every day just how much they do watch the TV, and they want to know what's going on within the city. This gives them an idea of what we're facing. A very simplistic way to show them where we stand. So I appreciate that, and obviously we have a lot of work ahead of ourselves. I think the core of the citizens of Iberia want to see the city progress. They want the clean streets and all that. So it's going to be a little tough year for us to move forward, but we'll have some decisions to make. But I do appreciate the way the report was presented.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Lewis?
And I have to say, I appreciate hearing the mayor this time asking
Mr.
you
Coder?
to participate in any discussion, because you can't have discussion on those kinds of things, and when you approach with ideas, it's your way or hit the highway. Because there was other proposals that I know came before this administration, and it looked like it fell on deaf ears. So I'm glad she's gonna, and I hope this time, if that opportunity comes, to talk about some type of revenue source, she keep an open mind and not just shut people down. I mean, maybe we'd have gotten a little further. But
Mr. Lewis,
because
I'll
we
take
agree
that
with
as a
some.
personal attack.
That's not a
I
personal
spoke with
attack.
every council member prior to presenting those taxes.
No.
And I will ask our CPA firm if they will
It's
make
not a
recommendations.
personal attack. That's just,
Is there
it was
anything else?
proposals.
Is there anyone else, Ms.
I-
Roban?
Yes, ma'am.
Just in all this discussion, I also am very impressed with the presentation, but I would like to see what your suggestions are, what your recommendations are, and you know, if that's a route or an avenue we're gonna take, included in that, I would like to see how much, whatever type of tax you think we need, a quarter cent, a half cent, a whole cent, how much of that collection per year you think we need to be holding back those first couple of years to get that percentage that we need to have in the reserve to have that backup plan, because you know, everybody talks about services and how our services are cut, and that is unfortunate, and it's you know, it's not the best situation, but I think that we need to show the people that we want to give them something, give them the opportunity to vote on it, and that we're gonna promise them that we're gonna, before we start doing all kind of stuff again, that we're gonna put what we need in the coffers to show that they can trust us, and that we're gonna be secure so that we don't get to this point again if possible.
Yeah, Natalie, I think what you're saying, and it makes good sense, is to, whatever that may be, whatever revenue source we have, sales tax, whatever, but that we take a portion of that until we get our surplus where we're saying, we're suggesting that you need to be, we have to put this aside and put it as a budget line item. And I think Dan was talking about some of that. We said about $5 million. We need to set that aside every year till we get to that level. Then maybe we can balance it off. But I think it's a good philosophy, and it's good prudent accounting and fiscal policy to be able to do that. You cannot adopt a deficit budget unless you have prior year surpluses in which to draw upon. You have no choice. You don't have much of a prior year surplus.
I just feel that's the only way we're gonna gain
I agree.
trust.
I agree with you there. No question.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any questions? Thank you.
I would-
Go ahead, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'd just like to say that this is our first year doing your work, and it was a pleasure. It's a pleasure working with Kim and very competent people. You're getting good information. I want to point that out, and I'm sure you know that already. What she provides to you is very accurate, so you can rely upon it, which is good. And, you know, we're looking forward to continuing to work and serve this city in the future. And as Dan indicated, our office is across the street, so perfect. Thank you all again.
Thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity to thank Kimberly Segura and all of her staff. They have done a tremendous job. This was not easy over the last couple of years. It's been 2 years that we've been working to make these cuts and try and move forward, and I want to thank you. Also, once again, I want to thank the department heads, because they have worked diligently to make cuts in their departments. It's an unfortunate situation, but we have just had substantial increases over the years without additional revenue, and it's just gotten to a point where, you know, we have to put the brakes on and stop. So hopefully sometime in the future, we'll be able to come forward with some type of plan to bring in additional revenue, and that we can get the support of the council to bring it to the public. At this time, we'll move on. I want to thank all of you once again for the audit report. You did a tremendous job. Let's move. Oh, I need a motion at this time to accept the audit as presented. Motion by Mr. Doyle, second was made by Mr. Merrill. I'd ask you if there's, is there any discussion? Please vote your machines. Okay, once again, vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is agenda item 5. Madam Clerk, letters from Planning and Zoning.
A recommendation denying all revisions to the City of New Iberia Code of Ordinances, Appendix A zoning, Article 3, Schedule of District Regulations adopted, Section 3.5 R3, Residential District 3.501, Permitted Uses, and Article 14, Residential District 3.501, Permitted Uses, and Article 14, Service Fee Schedules as outlined in Resolution 1427, dated March 18, 2014, by the Board of Trustees of the City of New Iberia.
Okay, the motion is to recommend denying the revisions to the ordinances pertaining to the R3. I need a motion and a second to get this resolution on the floor so that we can
motion that
discuss.
we approve it, Mayor,
A motion,
to approve it.
Second.
wait. The letter from planning and zoning is a recommendation to deny.
Yes, ma'am. We can override them
All right, so you're putting a motion on the floor
to approve it.
to approve it.
Yes, ma'am.
I just need a motion.
He needs a motion, he was putting a motion on
Okay,
the
second.
floor
Substitute,
to,
second.
not to deny it, but to move forward with the changes.
Substitute motion, a second.
And wait. The motion is to deny the recommendation of the planning and zoning and to move forward with the changes that were sent.
We gonna move forward to deny.
And it's,
We have a motion by
I don't think
Mr. Swear and a second by Mr. Lewis.
Make sure,
They want to override the decision of planning and zoning, the recommendation. No,
No,
this says,
this is-
wait a minute, let me explain it. This says that planning and zoning is recommending that you deny the request to allow the R3s. Okay? They're saying their motion is to allow the R3s to have the mobile homes. They want to override the recommendation of planning and zoning.
So just so we're clear, and Mr. Swear, if I'm incorrect, let me know, but Mr. Swear's motion was a motion to override the letter of recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And approve the ordinance that was sent to them.
That's a correct?
Yes, that's what he's saying, and he wants to approve the request that was sent to them to allow R3s, and that, we have the whole, with all the changes. Okay, so they want to overturn the recommendation. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
and I'm gonna be brief. Met a young lady today at Louisiana Technical College, just married, her and her husband. She's 23. Ironically, I went there for some other business and she was talking, got to talking, I run my mouth a lot. Didn't introduce myself as a councilman. I told her I was Raymond Lewis. Her husband works for Halliburton. She's in nursing school out there. And she was saying, about 3 weeks ago, they just had to find out that mobile homes weren't allowed in the city limits of New Iberia. She said they're looking at having to, she's 23, her husband's 25, they're having to possibly look at Youngsville or outside the city limits of New Iberia. I didn't say we were looking at trying to allow, these are young people. And I'm sure if her husband works for Halliburton and he can allow her to go to school without that income, I'm sure they're doing pretty well. But they wanted to start someplace, judging from her conversation. So, every bird that flies high, we all must come down for food and water. We all started somewhere. Because somebody is in a mobile home, I don't feel it no less than me. Whether I live here, transferred here, and now live here. We all need to invest in our community. We just heard about our audit report. Bless you. That's true. We just heard about the financial statement. I'm not saying this is going to do everything. Might not do nothing but scratch the surface. But I believe when we start telling good people that's not criminal, that we don't want them because they want to bring their families here or start off in a mobile home, that is wrong. I think when we made that decision some years ago, when you look at it, when I think back in hindsight, because I was one believed in demolition. I probably got the most demos, and those included mobile homes. Those included mobile homes on Lee Street, on Ann Street, and 2 on Lee, if my memory serves me, and 1 on Ann. So I'm not about a long debate on this issue. I think people have to start somewhere, because none of us sitting up here started right out the gate buying a house or not renting an apartment or even living in a mobile home. And when we get that high where we can't sympathize and empathize with people that's struggling, that trying to make it, maybe on fixed income, maybe wealthy. I got some friends that got money, and they prefer living in a mobile home. Who am I to judge? And the eyesores of houses and mobile homes, I've addressed them as a councilman. I called back when it was Tim Vice. This is a danger. They got this and that going in. So that's part of your responsibility as a council member, input. What needs to stay, what needs to go. But I think it would be so wrong. And again, I didn't tell a young lady one way or another that I was a councilman. And tonight, the Lord placed you at sometimes the right place all the time, right place at the right time. Because I sure would like her, she and her husband, to stay here in New Iberia, where she said her family owns property. That's simply my take on that. Thank you.
Mayor,
Dahl?
could I ask Jane a couple questions?
Sure. Ms. Bro, do you mind approaching the podium?
Hey, Jane. Got a couple of questions for you. 2 of the gentlemen that spoke prior to the meeting was on the board of planning and zoning, correct?
Yes.
2 of them was, okay. And the ordinance that is being proposed is having regulations on the district and 11 conditions that was not prior to the old ordinance, correct?
Correct.
And it will be identified with a sign for the neighbors if they want to oppose it or not. Is that correct?
Well, according to the guidelines that are in the resolution, it would be a petition by the neighbors who are contiguous, meaning properties touch on either side and across the street, similar to a zoning change request.
But will a sign be put on
We
the
could post
property?
a sign.
I would like that.
We hadn't gotten to that point yet,
Okay.
but we could post a sign.
I would like that to be part of the conditions. And secondly, they still need to come in front of planning and zoning, and it could be denied the application at that point still, correct?
That's the way the guidelines
Okay.
were created, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Wright?
I'm sitting here as a representative of the city of New Iberia, and to my constituents that I represent, that put me in office to represent them. Some in-house, some in trailers, and some homeless, but I still represent them. I heard something here tonight that almost brought me to tears about criminal lives in trailers. That's sending a bad message. Because to the people that's looking at TV, I don't feel that way, and I know better. I know better. Poor, hard-working people buy what they could afford. You go into some of these people's home, they take care of their home, they take care of their yard. It's just a sin to hear what I heard here tonight. We have a lot of homes in the city of New Iberia that we demolished, and some may still need to. I hope we don't have to. We hope the people could repair them. I support trailers, modular homes, because I represent people, and people get what they could afford. And I'm hoping that we could get trailer placed in the right zone Not everybody wanna live in a trailer park. It's congested. A lot of people have trailer on lot that look like palace. Yard and the trailer. Really looks well. You know, I'm for putting the trailer where they need to be put. Where they need, like I said, I have Spencer Loop and Lynn Circle. Most of the people there have trailers. It's a large area. I have a young lady approach me from New Iberia. She went to Quick Quarters and purchased a double wide trailer in Opelousas. Can't move it. She want to come here. Cannot move it. And if she don't move it in a certain amount of time she paid cash, she gonna lose her money. And they want to charge her so much per day to leave the trailer there. I'm representing now 4 people that I know that bought trailers and want to live in New Iberia. They want to live in New Iberia, but they have to go somewhere else. Trailer paid tax. They pay the land tax and they pay the trailer tax. That's our fault if we let these trailers go bad, look so terrible as we do the harm in the city of New Iberia. That's our responsibility to take care of the city. We have to beautify our city and try to keep our city beautiful all over. I'm in a campaign right now to beautify the community. I could hardly walk the community. But before I leave, I hope I'm successful. I'm not gonna fault anybody for owning a trailer. I will not do that. Then God would punish me. I've been lucky, a single woman, to own my own home. When I was put out by my husband, I own 4 rental property. And you look at them, all of them in perfect condition. I'm not a criminal, and I've never lived in trailer, and I hope not, but not that I don't like trailer, because some of them are so beautiful. But I always did want a home. And some of the hurricane that passed over, the trailers are still standing. They built those beautiful homes on Amador. The hurricane hit those. Those were brick homes. Let's not sit in judgment. Let's try to move forward. Adopt this as it is, to put trailer in the proper places. I wouldn't want nobody to go put a trailer next door to houses worth $200,000, $300,000, and $400,000. No, they're not welcome there because they have zoning laws that they're not allowed to go there. So when you got laws that's governing things, you put them where it's proper. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm about to be brought to tears right now, some of the things I heard. And I know I'm going to have to answer to them, to my constituents. Because as elected officials, we got to watch what come out of our mouth as elected officials and representatives. Some of the poorest people are the best. Some of them. We got bad rich people. We got rich maybe off the poor. But I'm saying this to say that. Let's not sit in judgment because we able to have a home. No, nobody with a big, beautiful home want a mobile home next to him. But rest assured, if the man on the corner, Dale, and Corrine want to put his trailer next to mine or across the street, he certainly could. It's on the corner, Corrine and Railroad.
Mr. Toe Deal.
Go see. That's an example. We need to allow these trailers and let them file and give them the packet, how your trailer should be put. And bring the other trailers up to standard. Bring them up to standard. Because some trailers in some of these districts, I thought my trailers was horrible in Spencer Loop. But when I visit others, I was shocked. So we need to be ashamed as city officials to allow things like that for these slumlords to collect rent from these people. That's what's happening. These are rented trailers, and I think it's horrible. I'm gonna cut my statement because I'm hurt at some of the things I heard about trailer. Because I could say they had some of the biggest criminals living in mansion. So let's not start go there. I'm gonna go there because I got the answer to my constituent tomorrow. I know that phone gonna ring when they hear that on the TV. Don't labor people, because most people come into the West End don't live there at all. Do not live there. And I'm gonna give a aid to the sheriff right now. 2 weeks ago, they had so much patrolling in my area, our area. You must have seen it too, Terry. Baggy pants went up, people not standing on the corner. I mean, just the present. And these people not criminal, they're just dragging their pants because we allow them to drag the pants. They're gonna do whatever they wanna do, because we allow them to. We have laws. So I'm saying, I'm not gonna vote against putting trailers, because I know some of the situation I'm handling right now. Before, so many of them moved to Broussard and Youngsville, we even let 2 people put some on our property out there in Youngsville, because we own. They want to be in New Iberia, and our population is going down. People vote, they vote too. They vote too. So I'm gonna just say, I'm voting to allow trailer in certain area. That's allowed.
Is there anyone else? Mr. Swear?
Mayor, all I'm asking is that planning and zoning give the same consideration to people with trailers as they do with business license. 3 months ago, they wanted to open up a liquor store in a residential area. They gave them a permit before they even got approval from the people around there. And then the people started calling me. I went and got their signature. They denied it. You know, but you can open up a liquor store in a residential area, but they won't let a person bring in a trailer in town. So, you know, that's crazy. You know, we open up business offices in homes all around town. We give them special use permits. That's all I'm asking. Give the same consideration to these people with trailers as we do to other people.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council?
I'll go.
Ms.
I've been taking notes because I knew this was going to be a lot of controversy. With regards to Miss Peggy and how she started her conversation, I feel the exact same way. I feel like there was a lot of comments from parties who were for or against it that were, kind of judgmental. And the type of person and the type of house they live in, you can't make that determination. That's a lot of judgment. So I want to really put that out there, that that's not a factor into my decision at all. There was comments made that, we have eyesores everywhere, houses, we have trailers. It's a situation with anything. You have eyesores with commercial buildings. You have some people that keep it up, you have some people that don't. And the fact of the matter is, with regard to us regulating that, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hike, but we can't tell someone, oh, you have a house above the ground, you must have lattice work. It's the same thing. We can't tell someone you have a trailer, you must have skirting. That's their private property. Unless you have like a neighborhood, unless you have that type of group, I don't think that us as the city can regulate, it'd be like you can't have a plastic mailbox. You have to have. So I think getting into those types of restrictions is very,
I can just tell you, generally speaking, and I know Ms. Bro could probably comment, that generally speaking, you can have zoning regulations that are based on health and safety, matters of public interest. And so the basis for zoning is that if this body finds it's a health issue or public safety issue or issues of that nature. So.
But I don't think legally we can say you must have skirting. That's not a health issue. That's a cosmetic issue.
If we felt like skirting would help with the stability of a structure, for example, and this body felt like it was important for hurricane protection, I know it's ridiculous, but you could do that. And so what I'm saying is zoning allows you to regulate property if this body finds that it serves the public interest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking in real broad terms, and Ms. Brogue could probably.
Yeah, I find that to be really broad. Everybody's talking about what, another thing I want to bring up is I want to make sure the public knows exactly what the situation is right now. And anybody can stop me at any point and correct me if I'm wrong. The situation right now is if you have a trailer in an R3 district, say I have a lot, and Miss Peggy has a trailer on my lot, and Miss Peggy says, I'm moving my trailer, and she moves out. I have 6 months to get someone else to move into that lot. Or if nobody else is moving in, I can buy a trailer and put it in there and rent it out. Correct? That is the current situation. So we're not telling people if you have a lot with a trailer on it and somebody moves off, you're done forever. You do have time to recoup that and put that trailer there. Saying no to this is saying we're not adding any more lots in R3. That's what we're saying. That's what the discussion is. I want the public to be very clear about what we're talking about. Another thing, I noticed that, you know, on the regulations, there wasn't a year. I know that's something we had talked about. I'm not saying that would make or break my decision, but I'm saying I think it's a practical matter as far as the years get older. It's just like a child infancy. You know, my infancy that I had when I had my son 5 years ago may not be up to par with the state's requirements this year. So a trailer 30 years old might not be up to the wind, you know, the specifications that you have to have. So I think that that's something that definitely should be looked at. There was comments made about empty land is now they're dumps. They turn it into dumps. You know, I think we live in South Louisiana. I think that South Louisiana is a beautiful place. And I don't think, and just because you have a lot that you can't put a trailer on, that declares it to be a dump. I think there's a lot of different alternatives. There's modular alternatives, and then you can build a shotgun house, which they're beautiful. And in your community, if you go ride, which I ride through all the time, I love the little shotgun houses. I think that's a great option. I think that is going to stimulate property value so much more. There was a comment made by a constituent of mine that says there's no representation. I have a lot to say, as you can see. That there was no representation for people who live in trailers in his district. I want to make sure that District 1 understands that I do represent everyone, whether you live in a trailer, whether you live in a house, whether you are homeless. If you live in District 1, whether or not you are registered to vote or not, I represent you. You reside in my district, and I am considering all factors, and I'm considering everyone. There's comments saying that we're losing money from this. And my counter argument to that is people don't think we're losing money when adjacent and properties down the street that their property value is going down because of some. You know, I live in Acadian Acres, which is a very mixed subdivision. We're part R1, we're part R2, we're part R3. It's my biggest. I live in the biggest subdivision in my district, and it is mixed. And I'm not, you know, I'm not going to blame this on anybody, but property value in my subdivision is going down. And I had a lady today call me wanting to, she found a lot and she wanted to buy it and she wanted to put a trailer on it and she can't because it's been empty for like 5 years. And while I understand her situation, it was a sweet situation. Her mother lives in the neighborhood and her mother has the beginning of Alzheimer's and she wants to be close to her mother. While I understand that, I also understand that the rest of the people on the other side of Texaco, where there's a brand new brick house coming up, that's going to affect her appraisal. You know, that's the reality of it. You know, that is just the reality. It affects appraisal. And I watch my real estate values consistently. It's something I've always done. I don't know why. I always have watched the market. But my neighborhood is going down. And I think a lot of that is because it's so mixed, and so we can't get good comps. I understand that, but there are areas in your district, and I know in Mr. Merrill's district, and Mr. Lewis's district, where there are just a lot of trailers that are not by houses. But in my district, the trailers are a block away from houses. It's very, very mixed. It's not like I have trailers way over here and I have houses way over here. So I find that District 1 is a unique situation, and that's the situation that I have to look at. I'm trying to think what else I had to say. I had a lot to say. You know, I understand where Mr. Lewis is coming from with this. I understand the fact that it is hard for young people to get started. I don't feel like this is progressive for the city of New Iberia, you know, and it's sad that some people don't take care of their trailers, and that the other people with good trailers get a bad rap for it, and it's sad that two people on one street, their yard's a mess, and the next door neighbor is meticulous, and it makes his yard look bad. But we we can only control it so much. You know, there's talk about, you know, restrictions, but at the end of the day, we don't have as much control as we'd like to imagine we will. You know, that's just the true story for me. But I get where y'all are coming from. I've thought about it really hard. I've gotten a lot of feedback from my district, and at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, Natalie may be extra compassionate, you know, but Natalie lives in District 1, and Natalie has to represent District 1. So, you know, that's what I have to do. I've lived in a trailer. I don't think that makes or breaks me in any way, shape, or form. But I have to do, you know, I have to do what District 1 has pushed me to do. And so I cannot support it. I've said that before. Like I've always said, I appreciate, you know, the efforts, but I have to do what I have to do for District 1. And I just feel like, you know, if I don't do what they have, you know, expressed to me, that I wouldn't be doing the right thing. So that's what I have.
Is there anyone else that would like to? Mr. Bagno.
I don't know where to begin. Let's see. Natalie covered a whole host of areas there, but that was good. I think, you know, I've also said in the past that I have a hard time supporting this because of some of the constituents I talked to in my little area. I have an R3 area, and I did talk to some of those people, and they're trying to get that area cleaned up. So I have a hard time supporting this, and I understand we've got to look at the whole city as a whole in some cases, but in this respect, I have a hard time supporting it. But I think there's another question that we need to consider. There are two questions I have. First, could I get Jane to come back up here? Sure. I spoke with Jane earlier. She did clarify something for me earlier, because I had a concern about something, but then something else along those lines came up. Industrial zones are primarily businesses, is that correct? Or they're
It depends. There could be mixed uses.
There could be mixed
and there are two
uses.
industrial zones, light industrial and then heavy.
Okay, and I asked you about
I-1 is light.
if there's a dwelling in a home in there, or if they would want to put a trailer in there. Am I understanding that really couldn't be done, per se?
It can be done if it's allowed. With this resolution, it would limit mobile homes to only R3.
Okay.
So you wouldn't be able to put a mobile home in an I-1,
Okay.
but
But
it's,
if I have a building in I-1, I have an office, it's a trailer, and it's an office, and I decide to move my business because I've built a new building for my company, could I rent that out as a home?
you could if it met all the,
And it has to meet the R3
permitting
requirements. So then we've opened that area up for potential more trailers then, haven't we? Once you let
Well,
one in there?
No, because we're not dealing with I-1, we're dealing with R3.
But we've allowed a trailer to become an R3 in an I-1 area. If I have a trailer there, and it's my office, but I build a new building somewhere else, that's my office now, and that trailer's still sitting there, can I rent that out to a family, and it becomes an R3?
You're changing the use of the building,
Right.
and that is a
It was a
whole
business
nother
before. It wasn't residential.
Okay, I wanted to make
It
sure.
wasn't
I wanted to verify
residential
that.
before, so no, you would not be able to do that.
All right, so I just wanted clarification, okay, that's good. Just wanted to make sure, because I'm afraid we're gonna open up some doors here, some
Yeah,
can of
if
worms,
it
'cause
started
there's
out being a
always, it always looks
residential-
good. I'm sorry.
If it started out being a residential structure, then you could replace it within 6 months.
Okay.
But if it started out being a commercial, you can't convert it to a residential and call it a
That's good
trailer.
clarification, thank you. But my concern is that once you open that door, or that can of worms, then you've exposed yourself to more, to abuse of all of that, and that's what I'm afraid of. The second issue that I have is, we ask many boards, many people to volunteer on boards and to do things for us. They are the researchers for us. The Planning and Zoning Board is a research committee, and they've done their research, and they came back to us with their recommendation. Now, we don't always follow the recommendations, but I have a rule for the most part that generally I will go with the Planning and Zoning because they've done the research that was required of them. And so, you know, that's another reason I think that I have to support this in this case. Like I said, I'll take it case by case, but in most cases, we do go along with what the Planning and Zoning Board brings to us, and many of the other boards. Because if you If you continue to slap down a board member or a board, then why would they want to serve? You know, then it becomes the burden on us to do all the research, all of the legwork, and that's why we have the Planning and Zoning Board, is to do that for us. But anyway, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment?
Ms. Bro, I have a question.
Sure.
I don't think you're opening Pandora's box. When we discussed this, it was for a particular area.
Yes.
And I said, what? I didn't want to
Anywhere else but an R3.
anywhere else but in an R3.
Correct.
I think, so I was clear on that.
Yes.
Planning and zoning, they've recommended some things in the past, and we had to take another look at the decision they made. Mr. Swear was right, they were about to make a decision with a liquor store. And once he started getting the calls, he got educated. But all I'm saying, we need to do something. We can't cut no more fat. We can't trim no more fat. The services you're talking about, our services we didn't cut to no ends, wits ends, services. And if we don't come up with some kind of help, just to help the young and the old, we can look at this coming year's budget. We can look at with the tax base being down, sales taxes being down. We can look at sending Mr. Hike to Detroit, Michigan, and let him find out what this city may have to do in the, God forbid, in the near foreseeable future, is file bankruptcy. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on this council that has a comment concerning this agenda item?
No.
Hold on. Mr. Rack?
Mayor, I'm understanding what Mr. Lurie said and Ms. Robeck, and I know what I said. Can we send this back to the planning and zoning? Listen to what I'm gonna say. And have certain area rezone as trailer to be allowed in that area. For instance, like I'm saying, they got Shot Street, Spencer Loop, Lynn Circle. That's about all they have back there. Follow what I'm saying? So rezone certain area, because if this ordinance states, and I'm hearing, that you could have a vacant lot in your community, 2-3 vacant lot, and they could come put some trailer there. Am I correct?
If it was an R3.
If it was R3.
It was an R3.
It's gotta be an R3. It's gotta be an R3.
But-
It's gotta be R3.
When they passed on it, they had
But let her finish, 'cause I think she knows what she's
So,
doing.
the people voted on it through the zoning.
Y'all should know what we
yeah, so what I'm saying is rezone. I would ask, and I'm gonna send a letter to ask y'all to place it on the agenda, to rezone the Spencer Loop area, Lynn Circle, for mobile home, modular home, whatever, and trailer. But meet up to, don't come put no junk back there. I'm not gonna vote for that. Put it properly, you know what I'm saying? Because look, I got a clean yard. Now I'm telling anybody, my little yard clean. It's little, but it's clean. But allow it, can that be done? Can that be done? Because Mr. Lee said he got an area.
Before planning and zoning with a specific area like Spencer Loop and request that it become a mobile home park, or?
Well, a mobile home park has its own set of regulations. It's, you know, the guidelines are specific to mobile home park, and that is a district within itself. It's an R6 district, where you can just have a mobile home park. It's not a street of mobile homes that are, you know, that are individually owned. It's possible, I'd have to defer to Mr. Hike about naming particular streets, you know, and allowing a certain permitted use only within those, on those streets that aren't allowed In other areas that are zoned R3, I don't,
Because Miss Gaddison bought $100,000 modular home, and she want to put it on the vacant lot across from me. They're waiting. They went purchase that, not thinking. You know, I don't know why they went so. She have nowhere else to go. It's her home, family property.
well, modular homes are allowed.
Can she get a special use to put a mobile home there or
Modular home is allowed. She doesn't have to get a special use, but there is a process for her to go by. Modular homes are allowed in an R2 or R3, any of the residential districts, basically, except for R1. We have a process for modular homes, and we encourage people to look at that option.
Yeah.
You know, we've had that on the books for a long time.
But would it be hard to get this rezoned as trailers or mobile home allowed?
Wait.
Don't have-
Mr. Rack, I have a recommendation, if you don't mind. I think we ought to stick with this particular, what we're doing
Yeah,
right
that's something
now.
we bring up.
And then that's something we could come back and address at a later date, if you don't mind. I mean, I think we need to decide whether or not the council wants to vote on the
Well, okay, but
recommendation.
I was
And
asking
then-
a question
Right,
outside the
but I
box.
think we can come back at a later date. You could go and meet with Ms. Bro.
I
and
certainly will,
We
to
can
see
get
how
Mr.
this-
Hike and try and, I think it's a whole, this is a whole different situation. I would ask the council at this time, we have done this in the past, we have someone in the
Okay.
audience that would like to speak concerning this item. In the
Let's
past,
call for the vote, Mayor.
wait just a minute.
I call for the
I'm
question.
s- In the past, we
I call
have,
for the question.
Let's let her,
I call for the
I
question.
understand, but let's let her finish
I have
her
the
I
thought.
call for the question.
in the past, we have allowed
I call
other
for the
people from
question
the
again.
audience to speak concerning an agenda
call for the
item.
question
And
again.
I would like for the council to vote
call it
as
for
to
the
whether or
question
not they
again.
want to allow. Mr. Height, can he do this to me when I'm trying to?
call for
No,
the
because
question.
calling for the question is asking to end the debate and vote on the matter. And nobody's
Put it to
seconded,
rest.
he's moving for that, and interrupting you while you're trying to continue the
Yes.
discussion.
And courtesy for Mr. Cormier in the audience, he is here this evening. He just requested that he give the opportunity to speak. We have allowed people to speak with the council dispensing the rules. I'd ask for a vote as to whether or not, please vote your machines, you would like to dispense with the rules and allow Mr. Cormier to speak. A yes would
He's on the
mean
board.
that we will allow him to speak. Motion carries. Mr. Cormier, you may address the council.
Yes, again, Mike Cormier, and I'm a volunteer on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Besides my volunteering on the Planning and Zoning Commission since I've retired, I work as a mentor. I volunteer at Pesson Elementary as a mentor. I work within my church also on the parish council and finance council. If there's an impression that people that live in mobile homes is being looked at as less than people that live in structured homes, maybe somehow it was a misinterpretation. That was not what I presented
Repeat what
myself.
you just said,
I can,
David.
excuse me?
Repeat what you just said.
I said, if there was an interpretation that people who lived in mobile homes are criminals or less than people that live in houses, evidently that was a mix-up in communication. I, for one, don't believe that.
Okay.
Okay? I lived in an army tent in Alaska as a young man. I'm just as much of a man as anyone else. Now, down to the business, I retired from an oil company. I used to manage $800,000 a month budget working for BP and $500,000 when I worked in East Texas. And there's a variety of ways to get your budget under control. Now, when it comes to the revenue stream, now if we allow mobile homes, and we all know it's a fact that when you get mobile homes strung out throughout the city, it's going to depreciate the value. So your tax base will go down. When you get people moving in or potential people that's going to come into a community, they're going to do exactly like I did. I looked around the area. I looked around Generette. I decided on living in a nice area in New Iberia. When I made that investment as an individual, you want to ensure that that biggest investment you're going to make in your lifetime is going to hold its value. Nothing against people that chooses to live in mobile homes, and there's places for that. It's a very sensitive subject. But even as a young person, my father taught myself and my brothers, put that money on the side, get your priorities right, and buy yourself a house. I rented a house. When I went through a divorce, I went back to a small rent house to be able to get back to where I needed to be. So sometimes it's about prioritizing. It's not about degrading anyone. Please understand, it's not about degrading anyone. You know, some of the best advice that we can give our constituents is give them some solid advice. It may not be what they want to hear, but give them what they need to hear. That's all I'm saying. Planning and zoning, we had a great debate on this whole deal. Now, we can choose to move backwards, or we can choose to move forward. I attended a presentation with the mayor of South Carolina, Charleston in particular. We went to a workshop, free time, volunteer for the city, and they presented a plan to develop Charleston. And I had the opportunity to visit Charleston since I've been retired, and it's a beautiful place, a place that a person would aspire to go to retire to. We don't want New Iberia that way. I chose to retire here. My hometown's only an hour away, but I like the people and the city. And my intent is to help the city in a variety of ways. And that's all I want to share with y'all today. The intent of the Planning and Zoning Commission, if you didn't have any planning and zoning, we would have a shanty town. Overall values would be down. Our intent is very well. Now, if you choose to overrule what we recommend, that's the council's choice. But believe me, we sought out all of the information, and Jane could tell you, we worked very hard to come up with the proper understanding to move this city forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Cormier, I have a question. How long have you been on the board?
I've been on the board now retired 5 years ago, little less than 5 years.
That you've been on the board?
Yes, sir.
So do you think it was right when y'all chose about 3 months ago to open up a liquor store in the residential area versus?
Oh, wait,
putting it in the-
this is completely off of the
It's
subject.
the same thing, man.
No,
We're
it's
talking
not.
about the planning and zoning.
If you don't mind, let me just tell you how it worked. We followed the process.
All
We
right.
followed the zoning ordinance.
Yeah. No. The zoning ordinance is after 2 years, you lose your grandfather clause. Then y'all
There's
go
some
to the special
exclusions.
use permit. All we asking y'all to do is give special use permits to trailers.
Wait, this
Same
is
as
off
we
the
do with other
subject.
things. That's all we asking.
This is off the
Same
subject.
thing.
Mr. Cormier,
Yes.
thank you very much for your comments. They were well taken. I appreciate it.
Thank you all very much for listening to me.
Call for the question, man.
Okay, can we be clear as to what,
Yes.
what vote?
There is a motion on the floor right now, the motion by Mr. Swear and a second by Mr. Lewis, to override the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board.
So vote yes.
Oh,
Let's be specific, so that, for the record,
Okay.
to override the recommendation of the Zoning and Planning Commission in their letter dated April 3rd, 2014, just so that
Right.
the public understands.
allowing for
exactly what this
mobile
council-
homes in R3. And, okay, a yes means that you want mobile homes in R3, that you are,
A yes means you're gonna override.
right, but
the
I need to
recommendation.
explain it to them so they'll understand what,
Well, I think.
a yes means that you are voting to override the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board and allow for mobile homes in R3. If you vote yes, you are voting to allow mobile homes in R3. A no is to uphold the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation.
And when you say allow mobile homes in R3, you mean allow additional mobile homes?
Additional, yes, because we
Additional
still.
mobile homes.
Yes.
I want the
Additional.
public, because, you know, we going back and forth, they might doze off, I don't know.
All right, so,
That's a long
All right.
discussion.
just to make it clear, a no vote is to uphold their recommendation.
Okay.
Please vote your machines.
Already voted?
Nobody voted?
I voted.
I
Everybody
voted.
voted?
What's
Yeah.
But nobody voted?
Motion carries, no, wait, no,
No,
it
you
doesn't.
need
No, it
five.
doesn't. You need 5 votes. 1, 2, 3. Motion, no, the motion does not carry. And I want the public to understand why. When, by state statute, if you have a recommendation that comes from the Planning and Zoning Board, you have to have 5 votes of the council in order to override the recommendation. So since there are 4 votes of the council, this motion that was placed on the floor has failed. A motion against, no, is Ms. Robin, Mr. Merrill, and Mr. Begno. The motion for the R3 mobile homes, additional mobile homes, was Mr. Rack, Mr. Swear, Mr. Doyle, and Mr. Lewis.
And can we,
I like
Yes, sir.
my vote. Planning and zoning, as you can see, this was not a vote of confidence. Thank you.
Ms. Robin, Mrs. Robin.
in closing, I just want to remind the public, if you in R3 and you have a trailer, because I don't know if everyone knows this, and I think it's sad that some people may not have been informed and they let a trailer move off their property and they didn't put something back in 6 months and they lost out on revenue. And I'm saddened for those people who weren't informed of that. You know, I wasn't around when that all took place, but I want to be clear, if you live in an R3 district, you have a mobile home and it moves off the property, you have to replace it in 6 months, but we do allow that option and we do support the revenue.
It's not even just an R3. Anywhere in the city where you have a mobile home, for the public's knowledge, anywhere in the city of New Iberia, if there is a mobile home, if you remove it, you have 6 months to replace it. So,
Mayor, I don't want to start a big discussion about that, but Ms. Jarak's son used to live on East St. Peter. I represented him, and his trailer caught on fire. And when you're dealing with insurance companies, it just don't work like that. I mean, 6 months had expired, and I had to wrestle with the inspections to let them
y'all will
know.
have to bring that up at another
And
time.
I just wanted to say,
Okay,
it was discussed that the property value in New Iberia is going down. But Lord have mercy, all the time I do a little improvement, my tax go up. I got $125 on the side of me,
Okay,
$145,
the
and
next-
me almost $300. What's going on?
Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is a resolution, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to execute for and on behalf of the city of New Iberia, Louisiana, a notice of acceptance from Southern Constructors for the completion of the Monterey Street Drainage Improvements Phase 1.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Roban, second by Mr. Begno. Any discussion?
You calling me Mr.
Yes,
B?
sir.
You call me Mr. B?
I see. I don't think Vince is here. I saw they had a punch list.
It's not Vince.
It's not Vince,
Oh.
it's Mr.
Leroy.
Leroy.
I see they got
Mr.
a
Leroy,
punch
do you
list
mind-
item.
Wait, do you mind approaching the podium, please?
It could be.
Hey, Mr. Leroy.
Doing all right.
We approving the final, payment to this company,
That's correct.
but I see it has a punch list attached to it. I was wondering if the items has been done yet,
I think I got 1 or 2 left, but,
and supposedly they will not get the check until it's all done.
that's correct.
I just want to clarify that.
Yes. I will make sure they all done.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Any further, Ms. Roban?
Estimated completion of every last thing.
Oh, it's gonna be within a week, weather permitting.
Okay. I just wanna, thank, just for the record, Ms. Therese for working hard to get this started. It was her baby, not mine, but I'm glad that it's finished, and, I hope Monterey is satisfied. I haven't heard from anyone, so I think they are. I think they are, and it's looking good down there. So thank you for all y'all work and your attention, to my district. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if you please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item, Madam Clerk, Resolution 6B.
A resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of New Iberia to act for and on behalf of the city of New Iberia to purchase the land necessary for the construction of the Arminco Canal Drainage Improvements Project.
I so moved, Mayor.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Rack,
But-
a second by, who made it?
Lewis.
Mr. Lewis. Is there any discussion?
But what I want to say, I read the paper, because I didn't get my agenda till tonight. I read the paper, and they said there will be someone to maintain that pump.
Yes.
It was in the paper, but is it in the,
From the sewage plant.
Yes,
in the planning, you know, in the
Yes.
paperwork?
there will be someone,
Because
there
I don't
has
want
to
the
be.
pump to be broken
Oh, no,
and
there will
and
be
nobody.
someone to maintain the pump. It'll be maintained from the wastewater plant because there's someone there 24/7.
Okay, I just, that's the only thing I
Many
got,
acres
and
we
I'm,
buying there?
I hope I get a
That's
unanimous.
what I'm.
4 acres for 150,000.
That's what the appraisal was.
Who did the appraisal, if you don't mind me
We had
asking?
3 appraisals. We had to have 3. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but we had 3 separate
$150,000 for that
appraisals,
land back there?
which is mandated by
We probably have
when
to
you
pay for the crop.
have these particular projects,
For the
when you
what?
have all these grants that are involved.
We must have to pay for the crop that's on there.
What crop?
That's why it's so high, 50,000.
What?
No.
$150,000 just for right away?
Yes, yes.
That 149,000, is that part of that money that, are included into the money that we
Man,
asked
you
for
getting
the
rich.
parish to pay part of?
No. The 149,000 is what we are paying the property
I understand, but
owners.
is that part of that figure
Yeah,
that
part
we
of-
needed
I don't
to
know.
get money from
No,
this?
no, that was in the
That
old-
was
that
prior
was
to that?
before. That
Okay.
was
in the old budget.
Prior to-
Mayor.
I
Okay.
didn't understand you.
Thank you.
Now, Mayor,
That's part
Prior
of
to-
the
that's
Arco
the
property.
property for the right of way on that property?
It's not a right of way,
buying
we're
it,
purchasing the property from the property owners.
So the property back there is ours?
The 4 acres will be ours,
So
and
we
that,
need to maintain cutting it, but what I want to say was.
Mr. Rack, if I may, just so that the public and the council can understand,
Right.
there's been a judgment taken in court expropriating this particular tract, and this is just setting up to allow the mayor to sign the necessary documents
Yeah,
and
we
pay, and pay the money that's due to all the various people that have an interest in this
Yeah,
tract.
that's what
The
I-
city will own this tract of land.
That was my next question, was the people that they have in the right of way will get some money out of this money?
the people, the landowners are
Yes.
gonna be paid from this
Okay,
149,000.
now.
This is actually for the purchase of that
Of
property.
that property, okay.
And it was based on 3 appraisals. We had
Thank
to
you.
get 3 separate appraisals in order to
Thank you,
determine the
Mr. Height, for the
cost.
information. Okay, thank you.
Ms.
That's what I
Roban.
wanted to find
Ms.
out.
Roban?
Okay, do y'all remember what the other appraisals came back at?
Oh, gosh.
They were cheap. They were cheap.
It was all around the same amount.
Yeah,
Like within a $2,000 to
Do you
$3,000
remember the
difference?
it was an
appraisal?
average of the 2, they had to do
Yeah.
3.
There were
And it was
3.
an average of the 2 that came in, it was John Bolte who did the
John
last.
Fote did the last one.
No.
I don't
John,
remember who did.
okay, so John Fote is what that's
have-
the
I
appraisal
have it
we're accepting. That's the appraisal that y'all went off of for the purchase price.
There's been,
Who's an average?
what I said earlier is there's been a trial, there's been a judgment taken.
No, I know, but I'm
to
just
expropriate
asking.
this land because, and just by way of background, we couldn't voluntarily get all the landowners to sign off to sell this property to the city. So we had to go through this expropriation process.
They're asking about the
But that has nothing
appraisal
to
for
do
the
with value.
value of the property. We had to
I
have
didn't-
3 appraisals.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
don't
see that.
have them
Cause a lot of the
with
people
me.
are
We can get it
calling.
for you. We have it. We can give you a copy of the 3
You
appraisals.
see, this went into the paper, and I got called from different people on the whys. He paid so much and they paid so less, you see?
They were all paid the same amount per
No,
acre.
they think the $100 and some $1,000, for, is it 40?
It comes
149,000.
out to about $37,000.
But that's what they paid for the total 4 acres of land, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
And we paying them the $3,800 for the right of way on their property, correct?
No, there is no right of way. We
There's
are
no right.
Now, what y'all
purchasing,
paying
we're
them for?
purchasing the property from the landowners. And it was appraised at approximately 37,000 an acre. We have the copies of the 3 appraisals. If
Okay.
any of you want a
But
copy
there's
of
no
them.
right of way. I
It's
like
not a
that.
right of way. It's an
Okay.
actual purchase of property. Ms. Roban?
Last question. As we're purchasing it, how is that property zoned right now? Is it zoned commercial? Is
Put
it
some
zoned
trailers
residential?
there.
Is it?
Probably farms.
Ms. Bro, do you know what the property zoned?
I mean, because
could
we're
add
talking
it
about
to the
stuff, but that
wait,
that has an
wait,
effect
huh?
on property value, the
Mr.
way it's
Leroy
zoned.
might know.
A baseball
Give
field
me a
would go
hybrid.
good.
Excuse us, just 1 minute.
It's in the parish, so it's not,
Oh, that's
it's not
right.
zoned.
It's not zoned.
But we could open a baseball field there.
Y'all gonna have to.
That's right, we have to incorporate it. Thank you, I forgot.
Okay, I'm just,
Okay.
The property is in the parish, and we're gonna
So
have
it
to
could be commercial or
incorporate it.
residential, it's not
so
zoned.
if they
It's just gonna, it's all gonna be just the pump station and the pond. There's not gonna be any,
I know, I'm asking because the way property is zoned sometimes has an effect on the price value. That's the only reason why I'm asking this. I'm
wait,
not
Miss
trying to do an
Miss
investigation.
Bro knows.
but
Thank you. Hold on just 1 minute.
If it's in the parish, it's zoned a certain
Yeah.
way,
That's
because
what-
the parish has zoning.
Yeah.
okay.
So I think we have to accept the zoning the way the parish has it already
incorporate.
established. And if you want to change the zoning, then you go through the process.
Incorporate.
But we don't know what is zoned.
I can tell, I mean, I don't know right off, but I can find out.
Can we put some trailers?
And you
I
know
would
what?
think, if I had to guess,
It's agriculture, I would think.
yeah, I would say it's A1,
Yeah.
which is agricultural. I think that's what it
I think
is.
it is agriculture.
A1.
Stop it, Mr. B.
We agree on something, Mr. Swear.
That was just
Okay,
a
thank you. Oh, do you want to vote your machines on this?
Yeah, it's money.
And thank y'all very, very much. Anybody vote against, I'm a stranger.
Motion carries unanimously. The next agenda item is a formality. We do this every 6 months. Madam Clerk, a resolution?
A resolution awarding bid for cleaning and maintenance supplies, concrete pipe, coated corrugate metal pipe, high calcium quicklime pebbles, liquid chlorine and sulfur dioxide, road material, sanitary sewer material, tubes, weeds, and control chemicals.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Merrill, second by Mr. Begno. Is there any discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I seen on some of the bids for the concrete and drain pipe, they have a bunch of people that did not bid the project, but we had, other bids, and we took the lowest bid. But why on the cleaning supplies, we only have one bid?
I'm sure because that's all we
But
received.
why we don't have the other companies that had no bid that bid the project?
I guess they just didn't bid on it.
There was only one bid that was turned in for the cleaning materials.
That's all that we received.
Okay, but why on these other ones, when you mailed the bid for the pipes and the fittings, you mailed the bid out when they had no bid, at least you showed that you sent some proposals to these other companies? You see?
Yeah,
But on this one, for the supplies, they had no other,
probably because it didn't really fit on the page, if I had to guess, but,
no, it just kinda looks like only one person bid, you understand?
Yeah, it
And
was.
nothing else was sent out.
no, it wasn't. It was sent to a number of companies. I mean, that's what's on.
Would you
the first
mind in the
couple pages.
future, give us a list of the ones that did not bid the project?
Look on the third page.
right here.
No.
And it shows you cleaning and materials supplies. It runs K&J, Cajun Chemical, Economical Janitorial, Long's Preferred Projects, Vermilion Janitorial, North American Manufacturing Company, State Chemical, Pelican Paper.
It's all, the whole list of everyone that was sent.
So that list is what you sent to everyone? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it was mailed to all those companies, requesting that they, submit a bid, and we didn't receive any.
It just, showed a little different on your layout, that only one person
Well,
did.
that's why this other.
I got you, I understand. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions? Please vote your machines. Motion carries unanimously. At this time, we have a presentation by Mr. Negas, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, concerning the summer programs in the park and the swimming pool.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm going to be brief. Basically, we're going to open the pool and we're going to have a summer camp.
Good.
Sat down with the mayor, Elmire, Kimberly, myself, and Heather, my assistant, and we looked at it and we made some modest increases in some of the prices for swimming lessons and other things. And also, we are going to be very frugal and streamline the number of people that are going to be working. We're not going to put ourselves in a bind, but we're going to make sure that we have the right number of people doing what they need to do. Give you an example. Swimming pool, let's say we have to have 7 lifeguards. If that day there's only 50 people that show up to swim, we only need 2 lifeguards because
for every 25, you need a lifeguard. The rest of them will be going home. And they understand that, so that we don't have to pay that extra salary. Same thing at the summer camp. They get there in the morning, if we're supposed to have 100 kids, but only 75 show up, then we adjust it to where we have, our ratio is 1 counselor to every 10 kids. It used to be 1 to 7 or 8, but we're gonna do that, and they understand that if they don't have enough, they go home. So, in both of these cases, we ran the numbers, and we will come out with a profit. The absolute, we have to break even. That's the bottom line. We have to break even. With this plan, we can do it. We're gonna have to stick to it. And I got my marching orders from the mayor. It has to break even. And I don't see a problem with that at all. So, I think we're looking good.
How many kids gonna, oh, excuse me.
Okay, if those of you that want to speak, I'm just going to say, we'll start with Mr. Rack, then I'll get Mr. Dahl, then Mr. Merrill, then Mr. Baker.
I don't have to be.
Go ahead, Mr. Rack, if you started. Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Miguel, how many children say would be in the summer camp?
100.
100 kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much would their camp be paid weekly?
$75 a week.
It went up from 6.
It went up $10. Yes, ma'am.
And, would you have transportation for these kids? Or
No,
the
ma'am.
parents have to bring them?
You'll have to get there. We don't have transportation, no, ma'am.
Okay. And, the workers, if you have 100 kids, how many workers that would take that day?
The work is 10.
10.
For every 10 kids, we have to have 1 counselor.
And we have a supervisor.
We have a director.
We have a
that- yeah.
supervisor, and we have someone who will be charged of the concessions and
Concessions, yeah, one
cooking the
person.
food, and, so there'll be 2 supervisory positions, basically, and then 10 constables.
Okay, and all of this, I'm here to really support opening the swimming pool. I can't see a city of this size not having a health and safety project going on for kids or for the parks. Who's maintaining that pool, the mechanical part, the motors and things? Do you have somebody that?
We do. Our maintenance people.
They qualified to do that?
Yes, ma'am. We've been doing it for 20 years. Yeah, we have to, every year it's the same. It's an old piece of equipment. We have to baby it.
I mean, oil it up and
Oh, yeah,
whatever
yes,
you
ma'am.
got to do.
Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am. You have to start early and,
Now,
make sure-
in all of this preparation, I'm gonna support it, although it's in City Park. But I would request that you put somebody else in that Western Park with Jason. Under no circumstance would I accept Jason working there by himself, because they will be having kids going there.
Okay, we do have 2 people. I have Jason, and another employee cleans up the place, but she knows what's going on. She helps out if he has to leave. He doesn't leave the park to come to City Park.
Sometime he leaves. You cannot get somebody in there that's gonna stay there, Mr.
Right.
Let's
The
not
lady-
lack up on that.
The lady that's there, that goes during the morning, she
She's
goes
the
to 7.
janitor.
Right, but she does a lot more than that. She's very, very
Is that her
intelligent.
job? Wait. They're all intelligent back there. And I think they all got their education. You're
Right.
gonna get that straight. Because you wouldn't hire them if they wasn't. But I'm suggesting in all that I'm voting for City Park, that we have another worker, not janitor. Another way, you ain't gonna tell me we cannot allow another worker back there with all this that we doing. For instance, we had a worker back there at one time, like a little, what you call that? Play with the children, I'm saying play with the children and do all kind of little thing with the kids.
Counselor.
You had Janice, you had a few of them back there. Can we get one of these girls back there to work with Jason? So when Jason gone, they know everything, and one person is never there. The janitor is there to clean up. Their job description allow cleaning, and they clean.
And I give additional duties as assigned. Her responsibility is to stay there when Jason leaves.
Okay, Mr. Rack,
Yeah,
right
it's
now,
the same thing all the time.
he's given us a presentation
I'm trying to-
basically on the swimming pools and the summer camp. This is not a budget meeting, we're not discussing the budget and personnel. We
But,
really are trying to just.
Sometimes I'm not discussing personnel, it needs to be discussed, but I'm saying this. I'm accepting all of this. I will accept vote for them to swim in the pool. I will say, your summer camp, whatever, you know, for the kids. Because a lot of the church and everything had summer camp last year, and it ran pretty good. They opened up. But what I'm saying is, I don't want to prepare apple and pecan. I don't want to shut down Western Park. But I'm going to vote for what you want. But I want to see some cooperation with me, Mayor. That's what I'm saying
Right.
here tonight.
We're not
I
even
wanna see
voting
it.
on any of this
Okay.
tonight, Mr. Rack. He's
But I'm
only
supporting
presenting
him.
it.
Tell me,
Okay,
Mr. Rack, you gonna
A
meet?
support is
tell me-
support.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
We'll
that-
get together and you
Okay.
tell me what you want to do.
Okay,
and
that's
I'll-
good.
And
I'll
we'll-
do that.
Me and him gonna
Right,
work out
that'll-
there.
and
Keep
we'll-
quiet over there. Me and Tony gonna sit down. Yeah, but yeah,
I got
I'm just
you.
as
I got
far as in my district. I run the district.
Oh,
I got
Me
you.
and Tony gonna meet as soon as when.
Whenever you want, you tell me.
Let's say tomorrow at.
I got a
Okay, let's,
call.
Mr. Rack.
What you say? Look, me and the
Mr.
mayor gets
Meek,
along
no.
pretty good.
Mr. May,
Don't sit here and tell me to tell her
Wait.
to make me respect her. What's wrong
Mr.
with you?
Miguez will call
I'll
you,
call you in
Mr.
the-
Rack.
Miss Peggy, I'll call you in the morning.
Mr.
How's that?
Rack, he
Got
will
to
give
be
you a
crazy.
call to set up your appointment.
What'd you say?
Wait, please,
He's out of order.
please don't make any comments from the audience.
I'm talking
and
to Tony, and I think me and you got a pretty good understanding,
we
and
do,
you
Mr.
understand,
Rack.
I'm sure you
We are
do.
working very well together. I'm only asking.
I'm gonna meet with him, because it's a discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's
Right.
finished.
Absolutely.
And make me respect
That's
who?
right.
I've got you.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am,
Rack.
Miss Peggy.
Respect yourself.
I got you.
Mr. Rack, Mr. Miguez will call you tomorrow
Yeah.
to set up an appointment. This is strictly an
Yeah, I'm here, and we
opportunity
can
for
say
us
it.
to
Go ahead.
present, well, I want to tell you all, to present our intentions for the summer. We will have to come back to you and do a budget amendment, because we
Okay,
did not
If you got a budget.
appropriate any funds for the summer
Yeah, I
camp
know.
or
I
for the
know.
pool.
I
Where
got
we
the
gonna get
book.
the money from, man?
Well, from the fees that they're gonna bring in.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't, if we're planning on 100 campers, and if 10 campers sign up, then we'll only have one consulate.
Yeah.
They've worked it out in the past.
And we're gonna make money. We're not gonna lose money in either one of these.
Okay, can we let him finish with his presentation and then?
I'm good, Mayor. I
Okay,
mean,
all right, Mr. Lewis.
Look, I support
The ladies know
this
what I
effort
was doing. I was
100%.
disrespectful.
And I hate to run, but I have a sixth grader.
Okay,
My wife's still in Baton Rouge with her niece.
you need to go see about your child. We understand.
Daughters got
Okay, someone else wanted to speak. Mr. Doyle, did you
About
want
my
to speak
bedtime.
concerning the pool?
Past my bedtime.
Tony,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I read it in the paper or where I read it. They had a budget of $20,000 for the pool, and last year we spent $10,000 for 2013 for the pool, and we didn't budget anything for 2014.
We didn't budget anything this year.
2014, we budgeted zero.
Right.
2013, we had $10,000.
Okay.
And, but in a paper, I think I read, it would cost $20,000 to get the pool.
Right, we might have budgeted that, but we bring in money from
I
pool
understand.
parties and
But
we ended up breaking, we maybe
we
at
broke even. We
$1,000.
broke even.
Last year, we spent a lot less on chemicals and everything
I
else
understand that.
because we only opened one park. That's why that
But
was lower.
they had a article about $20,000 cost to do the pool this year.
This
but-
coming year?
It was
I
in the
don't know
paper,
where
I
that
read
came
it.
from.
They ain't talking to
Yeah,
me
they
about
put
that.
things in the
Well,
paper.
I read it somewhere,
Okay.
but our budget was $10,000 in 2013, and we have a $0 budget in 2014.
Right.
And the mayor just made a comment that we got to amend the budget
Right.
for the startup of the pool.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
So the budget that we're gonna have to start up is the pool in the summer program is just for the startup. The running the day-to-day will be coming from the fees.
Right.
Correct.
Right,
exactly.
That's what I'm,
Exactly.
that,
We are
ma'am.
not planning on using any city funds to operate the pool or the summer camp.
None.
It should
It's all
all
gonna
come from the
fees.
fees
That's-
that are gonna be
Yeah, but what's-
charged.
that's
And
the
that's what
start.
I figured,
Clear
that's
out.
what we figured out. We
Okay.
sat down and the
Right.
fees
And-
will cover it
and you
and
just-
give us a cushion.
You made a comment that it'd be $75 a week for the summer camp, and I
75.
think the mayor mentioned it'd be $3 a day for
Swim.
to swim, and then they have swimming lessons or whatever is
Right.
all extra.
Swimming lessons, we got guard start, pool parties, and it's big. We do
understand.
a lot of pool parties. And,
But
we
you
got
will need
water
startup
aerobics,
money.
Zumba, Aqua Zumba, we got a lot of programs.
Huh, Tony?
Sir.
You will need startup money. You gotta get this going before the people, the kids come to the park, correct?
Right.
Right.
So we have to amend the budget?
Yes.
We're gonna
to
have,
start
we
it.
have to mend, I think he's gonna have enough money in his budget because we're
Okay.
only halfway through the
Okay,
year.
I just wanted to
Where we
clarify
don't-
that.
Yes,
Okay.
but we don't plan on spending any, in other words, the funds are gonna be reimbursed with
Right.
the fees.
And then some, yes.
We're not dipping into the general
That's-
fund. or-
that's all I'm
no,
trying to make sure.
That is out of the
Okay.
question.
And the pool,
I told Mr. Miguez,
Oh, yeah.
we have to at least, at the least, break even.
Okay.
or I would lose my life.
Thank you. I would just question that.
Okay, Mr. Merrill.
Okay, I am glad to hear that because I'm the one that asked the mayor to put this on for discussion because of my constituent sitting over there, Mr. Leger.
Yep.
Okay, his granddaughter wanted to work at the pool. So I'm glad that we doing this because the kids is important and that's something that we definitely need to make priority. And if we have the problem where we have this problem again, they do have organizations that are willing and able to take on coming up with some money to help us out in this situation. And I want to make sure that everybody that's listening to this hears what the amount is, $75 a week, $3 a day for the swim. And I'm glad to hear that this is going to go on.
Yes, sir.
And another thing too is when are we looking at possibly starting it up?
It's gonna open, what's Memorial Day? What, is that this, yeah?
Memorial Day, so 29th.
Is it
May.
28th or 29th?
April or May?
The second, yeah, May, May, huh? Isn't it?
In May, it's in
Yeah.
May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the day after that, the Tuesday after,
That's right.
Memorial Day.
And how many
All right.
days a week open?
We're gonna be open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 2 hours a day.
Good, good. That's good. Will we advertise this?
Yes,
Yes.
oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
And,
They'll put it around
some of the
Acadiana,
other-
and
All right, good deal.
sure Jeff's gonna give us some
And
comments.
It'll be the.
Mayor, thank you. I want to thank you for working with Tony to help this and make this happen. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Mr. Degno.
Well, I want to reiterate that, Mayor and Tony, thank y'all for putting your heads together and seeing that we can make this work, because, again, this is for the kids of the parish, for the city and parish, those who want to come in. We it's like we're kind of pushing the kids aside, and that's what we're really here for, is to help them in the city park. So, thank you, I appreciate it. I know it's not
My whole
going to
goal
be
is to
easy,
help the kids.
but, it's not just the kids that use the pool, but again, it's the helpers that work in the park every summer. And I ask if it's possible. You said that you have maybe 10 or 20 counselors show up in the morning. If you don't need them, you send them home.
Right, and they
Possibly
understand
alternate those workers and
That's
give
what
them
we're
all
gonna
a
do.
chance
When
if
they
we
come
can.
in, if
Yeah.
there's not enough, the
Yeah,
ones that stay,
that's excellent.
the next time it happens, the ones that
Right.
went home are gonna,
That's good.
we're
Thank you.
gonna try and be as fair and
Appreciate
equitable as we
it.
can.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, if y'all have no objection at this time, we'll go to the announcements. Next city council meeting will
night.
be held Tuesday. Thank you, Mr. Miguez. I appreciate all your work. The next city council meeting will be held Tuesday, May 6, 2014. City Hall will be closed April the 18th, Good Friday. The next neighborhood watch meeting for District 4, Mr. Merrill, is April 17th, 2014, at 6 p.m. at the Slyman. Ms. Kathleen Terrio is guest speaker. The grand opening of the Joe Dagg Memorial Bridge will be Saturday, May 10th. A fun walk will begin at 9 o'clock from City Hall to the new bridge. And the gifted students with Iberia Parish School System, the sixth graders, are selling T-shirts. If you're interested, call City Hall and we'll get a flyer to you. Saturday, May 3rd is Election Day. Mr. Lewis asked us to put this on the agenda to remind everyone to get out and vote. Early voting begins on April 19th through the April 26th.
This Saturday, please go vote.
Can I
yes,
make a
ma'am.
motion to add just one additional announcement? I have to. I just want to let the community know that I know everybody's heard about the passing of Mr. Tony Parker on the bicycle last weekend. And the community's raised almost $13,000 to pay for his funeral and everything. And he was a friend of mine, I just want to tell this community how proud I am. That's it.
Yeah, he was a nice young man and
A motion
Good
to
guy.
adjourn. Motion by Mr. Bagno, second by Mr. Merrill.